This week on the Jock and Nerd podcast, Matt Delhauer returns to deliver the epic milestone 20th edition of What the Fuck Happened? Geek Boner. Join us as we revisit Frank Castle waging a one-man war against crime in 2008's Punisher Warzone. All in this edition of the Jock and Nerd Weekly for Monday, December 9th, 2024.
This is Jason Mewes, and for reasons best left between you and your therapist, you're listening to the Jock and Nerd Podcast. Snooch to the nooch. Check. Check one. All right. This is for all you fans out there. Let's give it up.
Jock it, we nerd it. We funny, disturb it. We jock it, we nerd it. We spoiler alert. Oh yeah!
Oh, what's up, listener? Thank you for pressing play, and welcome to the Jock and Nerd Podcast, where we give you comic book and superhero TV and movie news, reviews, and whatever we choose. Jock and Nerd. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
Joining us first, he's a disfigured gangster, goes by the name Puzzle Face, but none of the pieces fit together. It's quite strange. We just call him Rug Boy. What's up, Rugs?
What's going on? I look pretty today, don't I?
Oh, wait, you're not disfigured. That's just your face. My bad.
Yeah.
Also joining us, special guest. He puts the pun in Punisher. It's the ginger geek himself, Matt Delhauer. What's up, buddy?
I have returned specifically to get my applesauce.
Oh, boy, it's time. Well, we're going to have to talk about,
God.
I don't know what that accent
The
even
amount
is.
of Italian impersonations
the
in this one.
horrible New York
Here's
accent.
the thing. I'm not sure what any of those accents were, but we'll get into it. But
Eat my applesauce.
Delhauer, this is a milestone, monumental episode. We have reached the 20th edition of What the Fuck Happened? Yeah! 20. This is the 20th one. Why don't you tell the listener, if they're the first time they're listening, they haven't been around, what is the story of What the Fuck Happened? How did this happen? What do we do here?
Hello, listener. Thank you for tuning in. What the Fuck Happened came about, what are we at, 9 years ago now? Over 9 years ago?
Yeah.
When I had my first ever appearance on the Jock and Nerd podcast, and we decided to have a conversation about why Spider-Man 3 sucked.
Yes.
And then from there, that did well enough and people enjoyed it enough that they said they'd love to hear more and asked that I come back to do one on something else. And we continued on from there for 9 years, 20 episodes, and a lot of really bad movies. And I keep coming back, so we haven't broken me yet.
We're gonna try it. We've done this 19 times, hasn't broken him. Maybe the 20th time. Fellas, Anthony, Ruggs, what does What the Fuck Happened mean to you, and the fact that we've been doing this for like 10 years?
I guess I will start. What does What the Fuck Happened mean to me? It means for one episode every few months, I watch something shitty and then just get to sit back and giggle as Delhauer says stuff.
Okay, so that's astute.
And listen to you giggle way more often than normal because you're not talking much either, everyone.
Well, that's why I love these, because it keeps me from burning out, and I don't got to do shit and think about it, and I let Delhauer do all the heavy lifting. Thank you, Delhauer. But once in a while, the nerd needs a break. Ruggs, what about you? What does this mean to you?
I haven't been on a lot of these,
Oh,
to be honest with you. I maybe like every other one
That's
or
true.
every third one. But I always have fun listening to Matt do his thing. And it always leads to a lot of laughter and views of the movie that I have not thought of, maybe, or little things that I didn't think of. So it's always fun to hear someone kind of skewer a movie and the way that Matt does it. So I enjoy it a lot. It's fun for me.
It's fun for me too. And for the listener, you want to check out the previous 19 and this one, you simply have to go to jockandnerd.com/WTF Happened. And all of them are there. And then there's like a special retrospective episode we did. But let's get to number 20, Delhauer. What movie have we picked, and why did we pick this movie?
Well, I'm sure everyone has seen from the title of this episode that we are going to be talking about Punisher Warzone from 2008. And we chose this one because we still have a fairly extensive list of movies we can look at. And we decided this one was going to be a bit more, just kind of a bit more fun than some of the others that we have on the list. It was one that we all felt was going to be a good time for just celebrating the 20th episode, not having to put ourselves in a place of really stomaching something that was just absolutely god awful. I mean, not to say that this movie is, fantastic, but it's still at least far more watchable than a lot of other things on the list. And honestly, as we were discussing before we started recording, it is weirdly prescient because it is about a man who decides to take the law into his own hands in New York City against people he feels have done wrong against everyone, but mostly just organized crime.
That seems eerily topical in December of 2024 for some reason. I don't know why. This movie was released December 5th, 2008.
Wow, we're actually really close.
We're very close to whatever anniversary, how many years that is. But 2008, we got to talk about. Anthony, 2008, some people consider pretty monumental year in comic book movies. What are some of those 2008 movies you got there?
Barack Obama.
The movie? Yeah, that was a great comic book.
That's a good movie, right?
Was that?
Yeah.
Barack Obama was elected. And
I was there in Grant Park when he gave his speech.
Movies, Iron Man. You had the as you like. Here, I'm going to talk like everyone. You had the Iron Man.
The Iron Mans.
You had the Dark Knight.
You can't add another
the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, there's too many does. These. But look, yes, the MCU started. Kevin Feige birthed the MCU.
Kevin
Feige, and then the Warner Brothers, arguably Nolan, releases one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, and the Dark Knight's audiences are like getting some good shit until December 5th of 2008, when this movie comes out.
Interesting bit of trivia for that. Ray Stevenson, who plays the Punisher in this film, auditioned to play the Abomination.
Oh, that's right. In the
2008 Incredible Hulk movie. Did not get the part.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
I wonder. Tim Roth is good in that part, but Ray Stevenson as the Abomination would have been interesting. Punisher Warzone, though, back to 2008. This is the third feature film adaptation of the Punisher, the second reboot of the Punisher. We had one in 2004 with Thomas Jane, and the first of two films to be produced under Marvel Knights production banner that didn't last long, and I think consists of just this movie and Ghost Rider Spirits of Vengeance. And I think that's it. On the Rotten Tomatoes, this movie's sitting at 29% critics, 42% audience.
I think the other Punishers were also in the 20s.
Probably, but it ticks the box.
Yeah, they're all very low.
For what the fuck happened. And here's another stat that ticks the box for the criteria to do a movie for what the fuck happened. Big box office bomb. The budget of this movie, $35 million. It only makes $10 million at the box office. So that's a loss right there. And that's also less than Howard the Duck and Elektra box offices.
It is the lowest grossing Marvel comic book movie of all time.
Yes, which makes it a perfect pick for this. Of course, directed by Lexi Alexander from a screenplay written by Nick Santora, Art Markham, and Matt Holloway, starring, like you said, the late R.I.P. Ray Stevenson, playing Frank Castle. You got Dominic West playing Billy Rossetti, the bad guy.
Jigsaw.
You got Doug Hutchinson playing his brother, Looney Pin Jim. It's time. You got Coleman Salmon playing cop Paul Budiansky. Wade Knight Newman from Seinfeld playing Microchip. Dash Mehook. I love this guy's name because it sounds like a verb, but no, it's his name. Dash Mehook playing Martin Soap. And Mark Camacho playing Pitsy, one of the gangsters. Romano Orzari playing Nicky. Karen Maliki Sanchez playing Ink. And a couple other people. It's not important. Anyways, Delhauer, turn it over to you. Lights go down. The movie starts. Take it away.
What the fuck happened?
What the fuck?
Well,
we haven't got.
First off, we are at a point in 2008, in December of 2008, which means we have seen such films as Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, and The Dark Knight entirely change the landscape of comic book movies forever. And then in 2008, Punisher Warzone proves that not all of them were going to fare nearly as well. The movie starts, and as you said, it comes up with the Marvel Knights banner, which I did not know they even used for the second Ghost Rider movie. I thought this was a one and done because this movie did so badly that they went, oh, never mind.
I didn't know that either.
But what I love is that the movie starts, and it starts with a opening credit sequence done up in the style of comic book panels. Something that it stole from the 2003 Ang Lee Hulk movie. And when you open copying the 2003 Ang Lee Hulk movie, you are not off to a great start.
Yeah.
The movie begins with a very, very green underground hideout, as currently unseen but definitely felt Frank Castle is loading guns and getting ready because it seems that a crime family will be having a get-together at some mansion somewhere because one of them is no longer going to jail because they got off of trial because, like, the sole witness in their racketeering case wound up dead. I wonder how that happened.
COVID.
Take him out, Luigi. Luigi.
We then get ourselves a bunch of stock footage of New York City because this movie was not shot in New York.
No, it wasn't.
As we meet Dominic West playing Billy the Butte Rosati, except for the fact that you never actually hear him given that name until like another 15 minutes into this movie. So we just see Dominic West rolling up to this party looking like a skinny Italian John Cena as he checks his hair in the mirror, and when his date or girlfriend or wife or escort decides to try and help him with it, he starts choking her against the car and talks about, I don't help you with your makeup. Which, two things in motion right away.
Yeah.
Number one, the god-awful accent Dominic West is going to put on for this whole movie. And number two, his character is a bad man.
Yeah, we get it. He's the bad guy.
He's John Travolta from Saturday Night Fever. I worked so hard on my hair, and then you hit it.
You hit it.
So as he is now in this meeting and is going to talk to the Don, I guess. I didn't catch what the guy's name was because guess what? He's not going to be in the movie for long. They're talking about how he has a deal that's going to be going down at the docks. It is going to be a deal he is doing with the Russians. And the Don is not happy about this because he's very certain that this deal is going to be the Russians smuggling biological weapons into the city that he is then going to be selling to, and I quote from the movie, not from myself, the ragheads in Queens.
Oh, those guys.
You know, because of all of those Middle Eastern terrorist cells that just happen to live in Queens.
I mean, we're post 9/11, right? And there's a couple of there's a couple of references in this movie.
Now, before Billy went to this meeting, he was warned by one of his guys to, take it easy in there, Billy. He's like, what, am I going to give the old man a heart attack or some crap? It turns out it's because we also learned that Billy's a hothead. And when he gets into a spot where he gets yelled at by the people who are essentially in charge of him for, organized crime, he yells back and makes threats because I guess he thinks he can. And he gets away with it, but we also established that he cannot pass a mirror without looking at himself the whole time. That's the end of that scene. Once we're done with that and we've established what this meeting Billy has is, we then move on to the dinner scene. One of the most infamous and most enjoyable moments of this entire movie. Because as the entire, I'm going to go with Gambino ripoff family, come joining each other around a large table in the dining room to enjoy their dinner, we see outside that Frank Castle has arrived. We also see that the police are watching the house. And one of the cops is talking about how he's so certain, quote unquote, he's going to be here tonight. which, you know is the Punisher, because that's the movie you're watching.
Oh.
So Frank Castle shows up, kills a guy outside by kneeing him in the back really hard.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
And then makes his way inside. As dinner is starting, suddenly the power is cut, and everyone's like, oh, what the hell's going on? And the Punisher has arrived at dinner and has decided he is going to do his best Batman Year One impression by standing on the table and lighting a road flare so that everyone can see where he is.
Yeah, how does no one know that this giant man just appears on a table?
Nobody hears him
6'5" tank of a man
jump on a
is
table
just suddenly on the table.
where there's plates and dishes, and he just plunged the room in darkness, and then he's like, here I am.
He has to walk by one of them.
No, he's just there.
And like, can you imagine the lights go out in your room and then suddenly like someone brushes against you and you just hear like, ugh, it's like someone's climbing
Like,
on the table. It's like, the fuck
is happening?
Who is that?
Nope, he's just there silently.
Lights his road flare. Everyone's like, what's happening? Runs across the table, cuts the head of the wheelchair-bound head of the family off with a big-ass hunting knife.
It's
Clean off.
Established dominance.
Amazing.
Yeah, always go for the biggest guy in the room. And if it's not the biggest guy, it's the guy whose head gets cut off real easy.
Real easy.
After he does that, stabs somebody else, kicks somebody across there, scoots across the table on his knees to start stabbing people with their own dinner forks. And it's like a solid 30 seconds of him just murdering people in a line on either side of him with silverware and a knife. And nobody's doing anything about this.
No, you got to imagine they're all armed. This is the mafia.
Until the lights come on, and then the guys who all have guns and have been standing off to the side go, oh, and start shooting.
Now I can see where I have my gun stashed and I can get it.
Oh, you mean the giant guy on the table was bad?
Oh, shoot at that guy?
So, in order to take care of the 40 some odd guards that apparently are at this dinner as well, Frank jumps up, hooks his knees onto the chandelier above the table, pulls out 2 submachine guns, and starts firing them both. So he spins in a circle and shoots all around the room.
That's the move right there, though.
Yeah.
That is the move that was in the trailer. It was the thing everybody was looking forward to.
No, I'm saying that's the most efficient way to get rid of
Yes,
everyone.
absolutely.
Can we just pause and analyze this just for a second?
He's basically becoming a sprinkler.
Yeah. While
Sprinkler of death. Yes.
in a comic book, this would probably be really cool, right? It's you're wasting bullets. How did he get spinning? Why don't the guys shoot him once he just spins past them?
I give them this much credit for him starting spinning. When he first gets on the chandelier, he fires both guns in one direction to start spinning.
Oh.
And then he fires out towards each side of him once he's going.
And then he starts picking people
And then
up.
people come in the room, and I'm like,
And as he's doing this, he has pinpoint accuracy on every person that enters this room.
I would think if you're surrounded, you want to be like a moving target and not like pin yourself in
not
one
a stationary
place.
target.
Especially in a room that has balconies and he's not firing up.
And he spins like 6 or 7 times. How did he know he was going to hold them? How is that thing?
Hey, shut up. He did it. Okay, killed everybody.
It's,
Right?
was perfect.
It's badass.
He knows everything.
Yes.
And he always does it right.
Come on.
Because beyond this, he then gets off the chandelier, gets off the table, kills a guy by putting a chair leg in his face.
That's pretty great, too.
And shoots a couple more people and he leaves. At some point during this, at least one guy got a hit on him because they broke his nose. This will be mentioned in a moment.
Oh, yeah.
But then because the gunfire started, both of the cops went in to go find out what was going on. I really do appreciate that these 2 beat cops that are apparently watching this crime family dinner hear gunfire and decide, the 2 of us are enough to deal with this.
Yeah, let's not call backup. It's fine.
They go in. The one cop who's not Martin Soap, because that's the only cop in this scene that we wind up seeing again.
The bald cop.
Yeah.
The bald cop runs into Castle and, stops him, realizes it's him, and then, puts his gun away. And he's like, hey, man, Billy Rosati and his friends got away. And here, take the silver car that's out front. You could still catch him. It's like, okay, cool, bye. And he leaves. And then the cop punches himself to make it look like he got hit by the Punisher. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, we will establish later on in this movie that The damage this man gives himself from being punched is nowhere near the amount of damage would have been done if he had been punched by Frank Castle.
No.
Also, he throws him his keys to his car. Did fucking Frank walk to this castle and for the hit? How did he get there? Did he take an Uber? How the fuck?
I was going to say, we never see the battle van. We never see him have a vehicle. So my assumption is my dude hoofs it.
He just took a cab.
Micro dropped him off. He's like, I got to go take care of my mom. You're on your own. See ya.
Maybe.
He got an Uber vigilante.
Yeah. Oh.
And so he leaves, and the cops show up. Pretty much everybody's dead. There's really nothing anyone could do about it, but he makes mention to Soap, like, "Oh yeah, your boy was here." And he's like, "Oh my God, can I get your statement about this?" Frank then tracks Billy and his guys down to the recycling plant that Billy's family owns, because New York gangsters, obviously they're involved in
waste management
in some fashion. So they own a bottle recycling plant.
Sure.
Before going in to try and take care of them, Frank takes a pencil and unbreaks his nose, because we have to establish that Frank Castle is the toughest motherfucker in the world.
Can you really do that?
Apparently,
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Try it next. Everyone, I'll punch you in the face. And
I was going to say, the
can you
next time you break your nose, try and undo it yourself. See how it goes.
Would it be asking this question if Jean-Claude Van Damme did this?
No, that's true.
That's right.
So,
Or Steven Seagal.
Billy and his gangsters are just kind of sitting there like, well, that sucked. But at least it means that we could go along with our nefarious plans without having to deal with the family, because they're all dead. The Punisher really did us a favor. Oh, look at this. These random guys that apparently I hired to do work for me have arrived. They're 3 Irish dudes who do parkour.
Oh, these guys.
That's common in this world.
One's like a Jamaican guy.
Yeah,
I was going to say one of them is a black Irish guy with dreads.
He's also Godzilla. Like, he's the guy who motion captures.
That is the guy who motion captures Godzilla.
Really?
Yes,
TJ Storm playing McGinty. I am so confused by everybody's accent in this movie, but the unnecessary parkour was amazing.
Around this time, there was a movie that came out. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I believe it was like called Red Line or something like that, but it was an underground like mixed martial arts fighting movie in the same style as like Kickboxer. And I remember that he was in that movie because it was a major part of all of the advertising that he does, like the fucking I don't remember what it's called, but the
Capoeira.
He does all the spinning dance fighting shit.
Yep.
And so that was his big claim to fame in the 2000s, was that he was that stunt guy.
This scene reminds me of a classic movie where the protagonist exit scenes by doing flips, and that would be Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
It's very Power Rangers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
These fuckers are flipping in for no reason. Just take the stairs. What are you doing?
And the fact that they show up to the plant, jumping off of roofs, they come in. They're told, hey, we did something for you. I don't think they actually detail what it is, but Billy's supposed to pay them. He goes into the safe. And he's like, oh, we're low on money. What happened to all the money we had? We had like $200,000. And one of his guys is like, well, you told me to get it laundered through the strip club that we go to. He's like, yeah, well, go and get it back. We need that money. So they give some money to the parkour gang, who then decide they're going to leave from the roof instead of the door. And they exit. Great.
What is the money to those guys even for?
I don't know.
Why did he pay them to do what?
I don't know what they did. I don't know what they do, but apparently because he can't go through the family, he had to hire a parkour gang.
Up until this point, though, like the opening of the movie, it seems pretty like straightforward action movie, right?
Yeah.
There's like, he's got the Punisher kills a bunch of guys. They're chasing these guys to the thing. And also these parkour guys show up with the crazy accents.
Yeah.
And like, okay, now there's too many bad accents.
It was once the really bad Irish accents showed up that you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we're fully in a cartoon now.
And then the parkour that serves no purpose. It'd be one thing if the parkour served a purpose. Yeah. But they're just doing it. They want to take the roof for no apparent reason.
I will say, setting them up now, it's one of those things where it's very groan-worthy, but it also will lead to a fairly good moment down the road.
Yeah.
But so they leave, and now Frank's going to try and sneak in and take these guys out while he can. But while he's getting ready to sneak in, we establish that the FBI's on scene and they are listening in on Billy's conversation. So they've got the place bugged somehow. On his way in, Frank drops two guys, one by having this tiny, like, I think it's almost a, like, pistol bow, like, crossbow.
Yeah, that was weird. This small little weapon. Why does...
That he drops the first dude with, and when the second guy comes over being like, hey, man, what's going on? The Punisher literally just leaps off a fence and drives a Macho Man elbow into this dude's fucking neck.
That was awesome. I love that.
But Frank should be embarrassed to be seen with a gun that small. You're the fucking Punisher. What are you doing?
So, oh, trust me. We'll talk about the ridiculous guns Frank has when we get to them.
Yeah. There's some good gun porn coming.
So he gets inside the factory. And I'll tell you right now, things are starting to feel a little familiar in this moment.
You don't say.
Like we've been here before,
Yeah.
but not with these people, I guess.
Nice outfit.
Yeah.
Where does he get those
So,
wonderful toys?
Frank makes his way along a catwalk trying to sneak in and find Billy and his crew. We get a very Pulp Fiction moment where one of his guys just comes out of a door that I swear to God might be the bathroom.
It was a bathroom.
And as he comes out of the bathroom, Frank just whips around and fucking shoots him.
Oh, the poor guy was just taking a dump. He didn't know what was going on.
He walks out and he drops. And we find out in the van that the FBI agents go, oh, fuck. We got an agent down. They got him. And the Billy's like, what the hell was that? What the fuck was that? So now we have to go investigate because apparently Billy the Beaut doesn't know what a gunshot sounds like. A man who works in organized crime. They go out and they seek around to see if they can find out what's going on. And Frank, once again, gets the drop on them by just dropping from whatever ceiling it is because they are on catwalks in a warehouse. There's not like an air duct system he's hiding in. He's just on the rafters above them, I guess. He drops down. He gets rid of Pitsy or Fitzy or whatever his
that looks
name
like
is.
Paul Giamatti.
He looks like a fat Paul Giamatti.
The big character actor.
Yeah.
Just kicks him down a flight of stairs, beats up Billy a little bit, and throws him into one of the bottle processing shredders.
Yeah.
the glass recycling crusher.
And so he then decides, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn it on.
Just leave it on.
And I'll leave it on.
I'm going to leave.
As it pours in more glass that's just exploding and shattering as it makes its way in and gets churned up by giant blades. And I love that, knowing there's nothing he can do about his predicament, Billy's response is just to keep yelling, fuck you, Castle!
Yeah.
Fuck you, Castle! And then it starts like cutting him up, and then you hear him going, oh, my fucking face! Itsy, help me! My fucking face!
All this scene needed was a Dutch angle on the camera to just make it perfect.
What it needed was when the FBI broke in, they had to do a quick zoom in on Punisher as he turned from the waist entirely backwards to look at them before disappearing.
Yes.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Oh, he's hanging in the rafters like a bat or something. I don't know.
And so he runs as he gets shot at a couple more times. He runs away, and he also notices that the guy he shot on the toilet was an undercover FBI agent.
Yeah, he sees the wire.
He gets bummed out.
And he's like, oh, no, dude.
You idiot, Frank. You killed a cop.
What? Oh, I thought he was... No. And he leaves. So, it's like one of those moments where it's like, and that's the end of that scene. This is one of those movies.
So just to pause right there, that's one of the things I wrote down about this movie is the editing on this is so strange because something will happen and then they'll just cut completely to something completely different that there's no flow to anything that's going on.
Yeah.
So that scene right there, all of a sudden someone's dead and then he leaves and that's the end of that.
Yeah.
It's like he's dead, he leaves, we watch the FBI come in and start swarming and like all like the random goons that Billy has, like just dropping their guns.
Right. But it's
And then it hard cuts to Castle walking down a New York street.
Yes.
right. Yeah. It's not on paper that reads just fine, but the way it's edited,
Yeah.
it's so choppy.
It's
Like,
very
It is,
choppy.
it is a thing,
overall.
again,
Yeah.
like Imran said before, if this was a comic book,
Yeah.
that's fine,
Yeah.
because it just would be next panel,
Yep.
Frank's walking around in Midtown
Yep.
Manhattan.
You turn the
Right.
page and then he's walking in and you get it. You're like, time has passed.
Even
great.
the scene prior where we talked about he kills all these people. Next cut, we've got capoeira guys doing parkour.
You're like,
Wait,
what the
what?
fuck?
And yeah, and it's we see the guys jumping off of buildings into like the Rossetti Brothers processing plant,
Right.
and then we see Frank's in the car. So it's like, how far away are we from what happened before?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like we were
There's no
just
sense
at a
of time.
mansion out in the middle of fucking like a gated community, and now we're like on
In
the,
the city.
ass end of Queens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Time doesn't mean anything in this
No.
movie.
No, there is a very weird passage of time thing here.
But yeah, so the passage of time in this movie is fucking ridiculous, because I even have written down later on, like when something happens, I was like, did this all happen in one fucking day?
Yeah, it's unclear.
Unclear for sure.
But so he's wandering his way down, what is supposed to be like a Midtown Manhattan street. And it shows that he's heading into the subway at the 5th Avenue and 14th Street ACEL station.
Right.
Now, here's the thing that I love about this.
Yeah.
As someone who frequents in New York, one of the things that I at least know about New York is the ACE subway line runs along 8th Avenue.
Yeah.
Which means that an ACE station on 5th and 14th
Does not make sense.
does not exist.
Listen, you don't even have to be from New York, because once he goes down there and you see this white train with a bubble glass and this clean station, you're like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, where's the fucking rat
This
eating
is not
pizza?
New York City. It's Vancouver. It's Canada, people.
But I also love that because it is the ACEL station on 14th, I believe that is, I don't know if that's not Union Square. Union Square, I think, is 4th Street. But anyway, it's because it's the L station. This is a counterpoint between Manhattan and Brooklyn.
Okay.
This is a very usually busy and popular train station.
Right.
And his secret lair is something he just walks off of this station and into the fucking train tunnel and just ends up at. So at any point during the day, if it's not 4 a.m, people are going to watch The Punisher and see what he's walking down this specific tunnel.
If that was New York, you'd hear somebody go, "Hey, my man, what are you doing? You sure you're
Hey, you don't want to go down there?
you sure you're supposed to be going there?
Oh, he gonna die down there.
Should we tell somebody? Nah, it's all right.
So he gets back to his very green hideout. I understand that they decided to do like massive washes of color to make this more comic booky.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make any sense to me why he would decide that the only light he would have in his underground hideout would be green.
He's got the fucking piece of Krypton from Superman 1.
It's like
That's what he's got down
night
there.
vision everywhere. I like the lighting and the coloring in this movie, and I read somewhere Lexi Alexander read Punisher series, but the copies she had, the colors were printed wrong, but she didn't know that, and that's why it's
way.
all
No
fucking
way.
neon.
That sounds like such bullshit.
and glowy light. I thought I read that somewhere, but later, you see John Wick pick up. It reminds me of John Wick. A lot of the lighting. In
I
this
think
movie.
that she was aping Dick Tracy
Oh, maybe.
because she liked that stylistic, like comic booky pop that Dick Tracy had. I think that she was actually going for like a Dick Tracy vibe with Jigsaw too, because she seemed like that.
absolutely.
he was-
Oh, yeah.
He is such a fucking Dick Tracy villain
That's
in this.
true.
So I think that she was trying to meld these two things, this gritty 80s action movie thing with this Dick Tracy, which is an 80s, I guess, is it
Well,
90s?
I was going to say the movie
superhero
itself
movie.
was like 1990,
Yeah.
but like the concept is like this
In the
dopey
30s.
40s
Yeah,
cartoon.
so yeah.
Yeah.
But so he goes back to his lair.
With a 70s exploitation type vibe in there as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, with the grindhouse gore.
Yep.
Goes
Well,
back to his
continue.
lair and he gets very upset. And he throws a cup against the wall, which blows up in sparks. So I don't know what he was going to be drinking just now, but goddamn, dude.
Nitroglycerin.
Drink some dynamite.
It's the only way that keeps
That's
him
what
going.
Frank, that's what Frank drinks.
Yeah.
So, he fucked up. He fucked up this time because God knows Frank Castle would get this bent out of shape about killing an undercover FBI agent by accident. So, because it is a Marvel movie from a comic book, we have a funeral scene. And it's the funeral for this agent that reveals his bereaving wife and young daughter and the only black guy in the whole movie who will be a main character because he's the black guy in the movie.
And they decide to name him Budiansky.
Yes.
So
They really sandwiched that. That's one of the editors of Punisher, right?
Polish. That's weird.
And a very, very obvious Frank Castle, just like 10 feet away from the rest of the mourners
Dude, like,
at this funeral.
He's in the same area where his kids and wife and kids are buried.
Yeah.
And no one's thinking to ever maybe stake that place out,
Maybe
see if he ever comes by.
He's right there.
Well, what I love is that then, they have the moment where the wife and the daughter are about to leave, and Budiansky walks up to her and is like, I promise you, I am going to find Castle, and I'm going to make him pay for this. And then he hugs her, and then 10 feet away, Frank Castle walks by, and the little girl sees him. And it's like, I will find him. I don't care if I have to scour this whole goddamn city.
Right
I will
there.
find that man. Hey, Frank.
This is
like
also
taking a leak in the forest behind them.
this is also the intro to the wife of the cop who delivers some of the worst acting I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. And so after spying on this and being, overhearing that this FBI agent has vowed to find him and bring him to justice, he walks 10 feet away to his wife and kid's grave, where he has a very public meltdown in front of it, as he has flashback memories of them being murdered and him holding their corpses in a park.
Yeah, we need the Punisher origin again, of course. You got to have the flashback.
I don't know why there were feathers floating around in his memory.
Because
So-
they were
A goose got shot also. Pet goose was also shot.
No, Bruce!
Bruce the goose.
Oh man,
So-
because the guy who killed his kids was Dick Cheney.
It's just
oh no, not again.
duck hunting.
So I find it interesting that the timeline of Frank Castle in this movie is very wonky, because they show the family's gravestone. It shows they all died in 2002.
Right.
And the movie came out in 2008 and appears to take place in 2008.
Yeah.
But when Budiansky then, God, I fucking can't say that name without having to stop and be like, Jesus.
Bootylicious.
Bootylicious shows up at the police station to give some of the best acting we've seen in this whole movie. He makes a comment about how the NYPD hasn't done shit about Punisher for the 4 years that he's been active. But his family's been dead for 6.
Oh, yeah.
And then later on, when he's talking to Soap down in the Punisher task force room, Soap says, well, I've been following his trail for 5 years now. So when did he fucking start being the Punisher?
Wow. That's a hell of a pickup right there. I didn't hear that. I didn't pick that up.
I noticed that too, but I was like, this is really inconsistent.
The most I could take is that he was his family died and he just was dormant for a year. Then he started killing, and then people only realized who he was and what he was doing a year after that.
Yeah, that would make sense. So he would be doing for 5 years. They only knew about 4 years.
But anyway, these are the things I pick up on, because why would I pay attention to the plot? Budiansky shows up to the police and says that he's showing up now as an FBI agent to head up trying to find Frank Castle, because everyone says, oh, well, we've never been able to catch him. He's like, well, with all due respect, that's bullshit.
That's a great line.
And if all you Krispy Kreme motherfuckers had done your job.
That's the line.
And so it's just one of those moments where I'm like, man, I love that this guy came here to act, but this is what we got.
Krispy Kreme motherfuckers. How much did Krispy Kreme pay him to shove that in there?
So they decide that he can join the Punisher task force down in the basement with Detective Martin Soap, where he gives him a quick breakdown and tells the audience who has never read a comic or seen any of the other Punisher movies the background of Frank Castle. That being that, ex-military, family killed by the mob when they were on a picnic in New York, and now he is a one-man army versus organized crime. I will say, this scene does have a great moment in it, in which he tells Budiansky, you can read up on some of the files there and get yourself familiarized with him and his M.O.
That is a good line.
He says, which drawer? It's like, what do you mean? Which one has the alleged Punisher murder file? And he just looks at me and goes, all of them.
All of them. That's a lot of info, and you guys haven't been able to catch this fucker?
In 4 years, the son of a bitch filled the basement of the 12th precinct with files on his murder.
I love that he's in the basement, too.
We just watched him take out like 30, 40 people. Each of them got to have their own file.
It's believable. It's a badass line.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With what we have seen of this man, in one night, he wiped out 40 dudes. That's going to be a drawer.
Yeah.
But I love that they just shove him in the basement. Like, still nobody takes him seriously, even though you have all this shit on him.
They've even established earlier on that, like, the cops don't give a shit about finding him.
Like, put him in the basement. Nobody cares.
No, the cops are all kind of in on it.
The guy let him go when he got it.
The bald cop even says at one point, he's like, he gets to do the things we could only dream of doing.
Which is murdering people. I get that.
Which is killing organized crime members.
Yeah. Italians.
Yeah. which is just gunning down Italians in their own homes.
Yeah.
And that's what the NYPD apparently wants.
That's all they want to do. Why can't they do that?
I will go on record about this. All right. So anyway, we then see that Frank Castle is stalking this guy's daughter.
Wait, I also love that the guy just has a slideshow set up for him.
Oh, yes.
It's fantastic.
In case anybody ever wants to get the lowdown on Frank Castle, Soap has a little PowerPoint
He's been
presentation.
waiting for someone to walk downstairs so he could show him his little...
And he has it set up ready to go at any moment.
Show you my deck.
And I love that one of the slides is like the same exact document that he has like taped to the wall next to it, where it's got like the little picture of Ray Stevens, and it's like, name Frank Castiglione, Frank Castle, blah blah blah. Like, so it's the idea of like, yeah, one of your slides is a thing I'm already reading.
It's right here.
Your set deck team only had so much.
Yeah, we're working with nothing.
Yeah. So yes. Frank Castle is now stalking this dead federal agent's daughter to her school, and that makes him a creep.
Well, I don't know.
But while he's in the middle of just watching a little girl go to school, we found out earlier, but I didn't write it down because it was a throwaway moment. We found out that Billy Rizzotti survived his fall into the glass machine.
He did?
Yes, the FBI pulled him out and said something along the lines of, "We got a live one!"
You would have think that would have killed a person.
In reality, the dude would be fucking completely...
They would be no body.
With how much it ripped up his face, it would have chewed through his fucking carotid artery way before then.
Yeah, you'd be
like,
dead.
No. But in terms of this world, he's alive. And we get to have another Batman 1989 scene recreated for us.
This is great.
As he has his plastic surgeon remove the bandages after fixing his face.
And there's no passage of time here either.
Yeah,
you have no idea how
this
long.
is the next day.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell.
How long did this fucking take?
Like, it would have taken him like at least like 3 weeks for him to like be out of the hospital.
Patched him up real quick.
Maybe. Yeah. If he has fucking a Wolverine healing factor.
Yeah.
He has no health insurance also, so this would have been a big problem.
He does comment that he missed a payment and no longer has health insurance.
Yeah.
Oh.
United
I think his
Healthcare.
name wasn't Luigi and had an axe to grind with the health
I think
insurance.
they denied him service at some point.
So
Mad.
he brought in a back alley plastic surgeon to fix up his face.
You know those guys you find in the strip clubs?
And of course, the guy makes comment about like, well, you have to understand, there's the amount of what I had to work with here. It's you didn't have a single square inch of skin still intact.
He says everything was pulverized,
like
nerves,
all of your ligaments,
your bones,
and your bone structure.
Jesus Christ!
So, like, dude, this guy's brain would have leaked the fuck out of his head. And so, as he's unwrapping the gauze and peeling them off of the skin that the gauze were like healing onto, he makes comment about how they had to make do with what he had, including several alloy plates and horsehide.
Yikes.
And the moment he gets his bandages off, one of Billy's little goons, because, by the way, weren't these guys arrested by the FBI yesterday?
Or shot at, definitely. They were all there. Pitsy, ink.
One of his goons throws up in disgust.
That was ink.
It was ink. He had a name. They never say it
Pitsy's
once.
like, what's the matter with you? Pitsy, I think it's called that because of his pit stains. I'm pretty sure that's why he got that name.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's apparently the guy's dad because he keeps calling him the old man. And so they both leave the room. And Ink gets yelled at about, like, what the hell's the matter with you? You know he's sensitive about his looks.
Yeah, you listen to Paul Giamatti's older brother.
Yeah, Paul Giamatti.
And then they go back in to talk to Billy again, and Billy has murdered the plastic surgeon by stabbing him in the forehead with his own scissors.
I was waiting for Billy to go, mirror, mirror.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't do that. That's the other movie.
So Billy decides he's feeling much better now, and he needs to get his money back and start up his empire again. And they're going to start doing that by going to get his brother James, also known as Looney Bin Jim.
Oh, you mean Looney Bin Jim?
You mean the guy the Italian guy at the beginning, the mob boss? He calls Luna Bin the Jim
At the docks, he says.
Oh yes, but he's talking to the Don, who talks like this the whole time.
Yes, he does. I couldn't understand what the fuck that guy was saying.
He's a Kennedy.
Yeah, it's Ruggs F.K. Jr.
We get more of watching Frank Castle stalk this family just
stalker
in broad daylight. We then have Billy, who now wants to be called Jigsaw.
That's like one of the funniest parts of the movie.
Which, like,
I think he sees a puzzle on TV.
He sees as he's recollecting, as he's killed the doc, he sees an ad across the street on one of the buildings where there's puzzles being put together.
Yeah, it's a jigsaw puzzle of
put together
the Statue of Liberty.
It's so you're like, what the fuck
I
is
also
this?
want to throw in, he says, call me Jigsaw. And then later on, multiple people still refer to him, including his brother, refer to him as Billy.
It seems to be he only lets his brother call him Billy, because at one point, Pitsy calls him Billy, and then he shoots him a look, and he goes, I mean Jigsaw. And like runs away.
Why, he saw the Jigsaw, but wouldn't you be like, call me Stitches or call me Patchwork? Or he just goes right to the Jigsaw. It
I would have just stayed with Billy.
Yeah, probably.
Or I don't know, like, because it's one of those very weak moments of like, it's a name that's from the comic, and we don't have a good way.
How do we get it in
out.
here? He's just gonna say, "Call me Jigsaw,"
because especially it's a name that was given to him by somebody else in the comics.
Should have been.
Yeah, I think that would have been better if the kid who threw up and his dad is yelling at him like, "What the fuck's your problem?" I can't look at him. His face looks like a jigsaw puzzle.
His face looks like a freaking jigsaw puzzle.
Or even have his fucking lunatic brother give him the name.
Yes, when he shows up, he's like, "Oh, Billy, you looking like a jigsaw."
I'm not Billy anymore.
I'm gonna call you Jigsaw.
You're Jigsaw.
That would have been fucking hilarious. That would have been great.
Yeah, fine, whatever.
Yeah. Made more sense.
I'm going to get my applesauce back.
They make their way off to Kentworth Asylum.
Oh, boy.
Because in this version of New York, it's just Gotham.
Yeah.
Yes.
And in Kentworth Asylum, we come across Looney Bin Jim, who is held in a room where they have him sitting in a bed, but they have his arms strapped up and tied to opposing walls like he's being half crucified. An orderly comes in to bring him his food. The orderly refers to him as Looney Bin Jim. And why would the man who works in the asylum call him Looney Bin Jim? Everybody in here is in the loony bin.
They got Looney Bin Mark. You got Looney Bin Dave down the hall. It's
It
just
makes
the name.
sense
Yes.
that the fucking mafiosos would call him that because that's the only Jim they know who's in the loony bin. So he calls him Looney Bin Jim. He makes fun of him. He eats his applesauce in front of him. And then he gets called to the door by one of the doctors, and we discover that the doctor was being held there by Jigsaw and his friends. They then immediately kill the doctor in front of the orderly, hold the orderly hostage. They go and they cut Jim from his restraints, where he then sees Jigsaw and comments, "Oh, brother, you look fantastic," because he's insane. And of course, Jigsaw's face is a nightmare. So he then comments and tells his cronies, "Go let everybody else out of their cells and set them free."
And that's never mentioned again.
Yeah,
Never
what
brought
happened to
up
all
once
those
beyond
people?
that. We
What happened to
have
them?
God knows how many, I'm assuming criminally insane people now just roaming the greater New York area, but it never winds up being a problem.
Punisher's going to be busy later.
That happens all the time in New York. You're fine.
That's true.
That's just walking down the street.
Gets into the office. Anyway, Jigsaw makes like he's going to go and kill the orderly, but Looney Bin Jim tells him, "No, brother, that one's mine.
Wine.
I'm going to get my applesauce back."
Great.
And then he goes on to tell this whole thing about, like, did you know that kidneys and applesauce is a delicacy in Sweden? Which I doubt,
I don't think that's true.
but sure.
Could they have casted a not more
Oh my God.
unassuming, unthreatening guy to play Looney Bin Jim than
Doug
a
Hutchinson.
guy that's 5'2"?
I will
Yeah.
say there's a moment later on that I make a comment about they do everything in their power to try and make Looney Bin Jim seem like he is threatening, and everything about him just reads like, who the fuck is this jackass?
Right. Even, I mean, that fat guy could have kicked his ass. I don't understand how that
Isn't
fat
the guy
could
who
do
plays
that.
him the guy who dated Courtney Stodden, like that young girl? He got married to some young chick
Oh, really?
in real life.
Mm.
Yeah, I think he got married to like a 16-year-old
that
girl.
sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Oh, well, okay. That's the guy.
Some trivia for you.
Thank you, Rug Boy. Looney Bin Jim attacks the orderly, and as he is ripping this man apart with his teeth, Bitsy picks up a bottle of pills and asks Jigsaw, "Do you think we should hold on to these, in case your brother starts not feeling well anymore?" And Jigsaw says, "What do you mean?" And looks over and sees that Fitzy has literally ripped a chunk of this man off with his teeth. He goes, "He seems fine."
Seems fine to me. So Jim is just like casual cannibal. This is what they're trying to
That's
establish.
the thing is that a lot of the stuff that I see comments on, like, "Oh, he's cannibalistic."
Yeah.
But outside of the fact that he was biting chunks off the dude, they never really say that he ate him.
That's a good point.
And it never comes up again.
Well, he does bite Frank at one point, but yeah, I don't know why he's
he
eating
bites-
people.
So he's a fucking kindergartner.
Yeah.
What do you want from me?
He bites a lot. That's all he does. It never goes any further.
Frank finally decides that he is going to stop stalking the FBI agent's wife and daughter, and he's going to go sneak up and drop off a duffel bag full of money for them. Where did it come from? Probably stolen from criminals he killed, because they're not using it. But as he goes up to go do so, he gets on the porch, and a little voice next to him says, "You're in my light." And this establishes that this FBI guy's daughter is a little bitch. So he then decides to walk over and he hands her a flashlight and says, "Here, for the next time someone's in your light."
Oh,
I don't know what that means.
yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be a sweet gesture, but also, what are you talking about? There's a light over there I'm using. Like, so if you stand in front of it, I'm going to pop out a fucking flashlight to keep gluing leaves to paper or whatever the hell my craft I'm doing is. So,
Very well constructed scene for sure.
yes, because then the wife steps out and she points a gun at him.
Delivers some of the worst lines ever.
Yeah.
Delivers some of the worst lines and the worst acting with surprisingly the worst New York accent in this whole movie. Because in a movie full of cartoon characters, she tried to be subtle and failed. And so she basically just tells Frank that, you know, you don't get to come here and just give me money to make it okay that you killed my husband. I should shoot you right now. Who punishes you?
I mean, that's deep. Who punishes the Punisher, right?
Who watches the Watchmen?
Who
It's not
watches
deep,
the Watchmen?
Imran.
That's the same thing. That's what I'm saying. It's deep shit right there.
Who polices the police? It's like I could say it about so many fucking people.
Who rugs the rug boy?
Who rugs
Exactly.
Doesn't really work.
What?
Wait, what?
Who rugs off to Rug Boy?
I love this scene. I'm going to skip into the next part of the scene.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Where she's pointing the gun at him. He tells her how to kill him, which is not to shoot me in the head.
Yeah.
Shoot me in the chest.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's any more efficient
Well,
than
for
shooting
some
someone in the
reason,
head.
it seems to be that he is so set on the idea of if you want your revenge, you shoot me in the heart.
Right.
It's like,
So,
okay. She could have shot you in the face. That would have worked too.
right. And I just love that this scene ends with, or gets stopped because the daughter comes out and they play it off. So the daughter asks the mom about something. Maybe Delhauer, you can
I
fill me in.
need
Yeah,
my
she's
red
like, where's
pen.
my red pen, Ma?
But they frame it as if because she comes out,
She stopped.
she can't see that her mom is pointing a gun. It's either that or she just willfully ignores that her mom is pointing a gun.
Well,
at
no,
somebody.
because she does see that her mom's pointing
Yeah,
a gun
she-
because the mom does it when the daughter's still on the porch because she says, you know, get the fuck away from my daughter while pointing the gun at him. And then the daughter goes, Mom, that's a dad word.
And the daughter is watching. So essentially, the daughter just saved Frank's
And then
life.
she tells her, like, go inside.
Right
So it's
there.
like she fully witnessed her mom pointing a gun at this man she just met.
But there's no reaction to it.
And then
No.
decides, I don't give a shit. I want my red pen, which tells me that I think this little girl might be a sociopath.
Right.
Or just a New Yorker.
Or she's like,
Yeah, maybe.
this man gave me a flashlight. I'm going to save him. Don't shoot
Yeah,
him.
because then we have the little bit where she then decides, fine, I'm not gonna shoot you on the porch in front of my daughter, but you're gonna leave with the money. And so he takes the bag and he walks off the porch and she turns off the porch light, but then the little girl like flashes the flashlight at him through the door.
Yeah, what is that?
It's like, so this is establishing that the little girl now has some sort of connection to Frank.
Yeah, he's instantly bonded with Grace, just like that, by giving her a flashlight.
Does she know that this is the guy that killed her dad?
He killed your father.
Maybe she hated her dad
Possible.
because she sure doesn't seem broken up about the idea their dad's dead.
You can call me Jigsaw.
So we then have Jigsaw doing his meeting. Well, he comes back to some hotel. It's not the big hotel from the end of the movie, but just some random one that Jim asks him, like, do you own this? And he goes, not yet, I don't. So I don't know whose fucking building this is. But as they walk inside, he sees his reflection in the mirror and he gets all sad about it. He talks about, like, you know, just when I think I'm okay, I see my reflection and I'm hideous. So in a showing of compassion that is also absolute lunacy, his brother decides, I'm going to take care of you and I'm going to kill Frank Castle and you're never going to have to see your reflection again. Then he like bodies a bunch of mirrors in this like lobby to be like, oh, anytime we're near a mirror, I'll break it so you don't have to see it.
He's
Which
crazy.
is like kind of deep down sweet, but also ow.
And also, you break the mirror, but the reflection is still there. Like, you should have just
Well, then
taken...
the reflection's all broken up like a
You
jigsaw
could've just-
puzzle.
Yeah.
You're going to break...
Yeah, he's Looney Bin Jim.
I wish that he would have kept breaking mirrors, like, throughout the movie, wherever they
You're
went.
expecting Looney Bin Jim to be logical, Imran?
It is funny enough. It does come back
Oh, it does.
later on when they're in the interrogation room.
Oh, right.
You see from the other side the one-way mirror is shattered.
Yes, that does come back.
Oh, what a nice brother.
So they have a meeting with the Russians to talk about how they're still going to have their deal down at the docks go down. But Jigsaw's demanding more money now because, well, I know what it is that you're bringing, and I know who you're selling it to, and I know just how dangerous that is, which means I have to grease even more palms, so you're going to pay me $12 million instead of 10. They also kill one of the Russian guys for being a jerk.
Not knowing his place.
Oh, yeah.
Because, he decided, we're now doing deals with what are essentially absolute maniacs. I don't think that's a good idea. And then he got a stem of a wine glass through his throat.
Oh, that's right. The wine glass.
That's such a weird kill, too. The
Yeah,
way they edit that with the
And it's also just such bad CGI.
Because he was like sitting across from him, not next to him. The editing was really weird and the CGI was really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad. It's a bad time.
It's a bad time to be a Russian talking shit.
2008, real bad time to be a Russian. So Frank, now I'm guessing the next day, because it's just light out again, watches some Latino dude buy a bunch of guns off of a guy out of his trunk, and then follows him to an apartment where he then tackles him into the apartment, and it happens to be Microchip's apartment.
Oh.
Hey, you guys know Microchip? You've read the comics, right?
That's the guy from the comics.
No, you guys,
It's Newman.
no one knows who Microchip is? Well,
He's the guy in the chair.
It's the guy
That's
in the
bad.
chair.
because we don't explain it.
Well, he's like the neighbor, that lives down the hallway. Oh, that's Newman. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh,
So we at least established that Microchip and Frank have a history, and apparently we need to go into deep detail about how gangbangers don't trust the guns for money program that the police run. So he's instead hiring an ex-gangbanger to buy guns off of the streets and then give them to Micro. What does that fucking matter?
How does the math work on that?
I don't know.
yeah, where's he getting? How's he buying?
I'm guessing Frank has to give him the money that he steals from all the dead criminals.
So Frank's actually buying these guns off of criminals from criminals that he ripped off,
Seems like, yeah.
Sure.
and using the guns to kill
And
those.
using the guns to kill those criminals to then take their money.
It's poetic.
Okay, sounds
Ultimately, it's kind of a Ponzi scheme.
Yes.
But anyway, so this is how we meet. I don't remember his name. Other guy.
bald guy with an
Yeah.
accent.
What was his name?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
bald Latin king.
With the most over-the-top Latin accent, or a Hispanic gangster accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he is. It's like he's not even trying to do Bronx. It is straight L.A. Yo, Holmes. Like, anyway. This is all because it's basically just a scene so that Frank can say, well, I fucked up by killing an FBI agent, so I'm going to quit. I shouldn't be the Punisher anymore. And then Microchip gets to go, you shouldn't quit, Frank. You need to be the Punisher still.
What they should have done in the next scene is they should have had a old school gray trash can with a lid and the Punisher vest hanging out of it as Frank
As he
has to
walks
walk
away with his
in the rain.
head held in
Punisher
shame.
no
Yeah.
more.
Right.
He's giving up. This seems familiar.
I can't do this if collateral damage is going to happen.
There was collateral damage. Wow. It's like you never went to war, Frank. So I guess he's at actually there was a scene with Micro earlier that I completely skipped over because it was kind of innocuous, where he was talking about like, oh yeah, I'm currently on this message board pretending to be a jihadist. So I can try and get weaponry from like fucking Middle Eastern terrorists.
Because you ever heard of jihadiblogger.com? I've been there many times. I have an account there.
So anyway,
Imran definitely does.
this is to establish that he's at Micro's place to pick up gadgets and new guns and such. Because in the next scene, he's going to try and figure out, because I think it was in this scene, Micro basically tells him, like, do you really think that FBI agent's family is going to be safe without you, Frank? Rosati got out, and he's running around, and he's going to go after them because he wants revenge.
Why doesn't this occur to Frank, first of all?
Number one, why is it that Frank Castle is the stupidest person in the room this whole fucking movie?
And does Micro live with his mom, and that's where all the guns are?
Apparently he does, because they mention later on that he was at his mom's place.
His mom's got Alzheimer's.
So Frank then decides, he then mentions like, oh yeah, I saw him meeting with these guys who were doing, flips off of buildings and stuff. And the Latin King guy's like, oh, that's McGinty and his free running gang.
What a name.
Like,
what a name.
Great.
What a
great. I'm so glad
name.
we got to say that out loud in this movie.
And the Free Flow Gang or something.
McGinty, the Free Flow.
And so then they go off, and he and the Latin King go to a bar where Frank sits in the car and waits for the Latino guy to go in and beat people up for information. Because God knows, if there's one thing the Punisher doesn't do, is it's beat the shit out of people for information.
He needs a break.
Yeah.
It's, he's had a rough week. He did kill an FBI agent, so his heart's not in it anymore. And that's where they then find out, like, oh, this is where you can find McGinty's gang later on.
They don't even show you him kicking somebody's ass. That would have been cool.
So he comes, and then we're like, okay, so that's where he's going to find McGinty's gang. Oh, by the way, there's a police plot in this movie. I don't remember if any of you guys remember, but the cops are still looking for him. And so Soap winds up telling
Booty nuggets.
Booty rocking everywhere.
Yeah.
Sometimes what I like to do is I like to just sit in the car and listen to the CB radio and see if I can track down where Frank is. So they choose to do that. And it just so happens to work because Frank, while tracking down McGinty and his Free Flow gang, finds them after they apparently macheted some Chinese dude in the face for no reason.
Oh yeah, you just see the shot of the person with a machete in their face.
They're just killing people. And that also,
it's just straight death proof type shit.
And they're running from the cops by climbing up the fucking fire escapes, jumping building to building.
Wasn't that a funk band in the 70s, McGinty and the Free Flow Gang? It sounds like they had a top 10
Sounds
hit.
like a feminine product.
I was going to say, I feel like that's a third wave ska band.
But that's got to lead to one of the best scenes in the movie.
The most hilarious
it sure
scene
does,
in the movie.
Because Frank tracks them down. And while they're in the midst of doing their hardcore parkour from building to building, he shoots one of them with a motherfucking rocket launcher.
This is the funniest scene in the movie, in the middle of the air. But the way it's cut, and edited, and the way they do it, until I saw that, I never knew that's what I wanted to see. I was like, oh my God, that's fucking great. I don't know why.
So after he blows one of them up with a rocket launcher, he shoots one of them in the head with a rifle, and then blows out McGinty's knees from a distance so he can't run and jump away. Because Frank fucking hates parkour guys.
The other dude just stands there while Frank calmly puts down that gun, picks up another gun.
Dude, are you going to immediately? What is your reaction the moment you see one of your friends get exploded in midair?
Run.
I don't think it's going to be like, oh, I'm going to do a flip. I think it's more of a what?
What just happened?
Let me get the fuck out of here.
So he then goes and he strong arms McGinty into telling him where can I find Billy Rosati and his crew. And McGinty tells him they're going over to the FBI wife's house because they're going to get their money back because he fucked them over and now they're going to get their revenge.
Swear to me.
Why? Why does McGinty know this?
And shouldn't Frank just figure this out? What the fuck?
Why is it that Jigsaw tells the random fucking parkour guys who I don't know what they do for him what his daily itinerary is?
Yeah, it's so ambiguous as to why the parkour guys are even... I mean, I know why they're in the movie, but I don't know what their role was within the plot.
They just needed something to be different.
They do nothing.
Well, they definitely adds a little bit of flair to this movie. We'll put it like that.
You want to call it flair, I guess. Ric Flair.
Woo! So as Soap and Budiansky are driving around trying to find out what's going on because they're hearing on the radio about, explosions, They're driving down an alleyway when they just see McGinty fall from the sky and get impaled on a fucking wrought iron fence.
And then the next thing that happens is
And
fucking
they're like, "Oh my
metal.
god, that's horrible."
That's not the
Then
worst way to go
A split second
out.
later, Frank comes jumping down behind him and breaks his fucking neck by landing on him before hitting the ground.
That's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And then just calmly walks away.
I love that Frank in this is just the Batman, and just jumping from rooftops. Like, how far did he jump?
Oh,
There is a moment later on,
yes, where he's flying,
where he does a jump that I can only describe as skyscraper-esque.
Yeah,
or Jackie Chan-esque.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just he's way too big to be fucking jumping.
So
Rumble in the Bronx, Jackie Chan.
He goes down a side alleyway. Budiansky tells Soap, "Call it in and get back up. I'm go around to the other side and I'm going to cut him off." And he goes chasing after him. Now, while that's happening, Jigsaw and his gang show up at the suburb that the FBI agent's wife is in, and they're walking down the street in slow motion.
Yeah,
And these guys are the lamest fucking crew I've ever seen. Like, it's a disfigured man, a dude covered in bandages, which makes him look like a child, a fat guy, and a cokehead.
Ink and Pitsy.
So, Budiansky gets the drop on Frank and tells him, "Oh, your days are done, Castle. I'm taking you in. I'm getting you out of here." And then they get into a fist fight, and it gets all fucking they live up in here.
Oh yeah, put on these glasses.
Put on these handcuffs.
That's great.
So the two of them get into a pretty solid fist fight.
Yeah.
Like the dude who played Budiansky, like he looked like he could definitely take Ray Stevenson at least for a little while in a fight.
Yeah.
They go back and forth. He's, they're dropping guns, disarming each other, getting in, hitting here, hitting there.
Keith David impersonation.
Yeah, exactly.
While Ray Stevens is doing his best Roddy Piper.
And so finally, when he thinks he's won, he goes to walk away. Budiansky handcuffs himself to Castle.
Oh, that old
and is
move.
like, "Now you're coming with me." And I love how now that the fight is over is when Castle's like, "They're going after Donatelli's wife. We have to go stop them." You could have said that before, dude.
He's like, shit.
Like, that this guy is like at least friendly to the family. He would have probably like believed you and gone along with it rather than being like, "All right, now that I realized I can't kick your ass and walk away, I'll appeal to your better nature." So they agree. They're going to go. But first, they're going to call it in and have a cop car swing by and check on the Donatelli family. At this point, Jigsaw and his gang have broken into the house. Jigsaw has done what he could to try and be the Joker. Such things as when Mrs. Donatelli says that the money they want's not here, she swears to God. He then drops down and looks the daughter in the face and asks, "What about you, little girl? Do you want to swear to an imaginary friend too?" It's like, what are you doing?
Great.
What is this?
And Jim is just smashing things just for no reason.
Yeah, and the whole time it's like we're gonna tear the house apart to find stuff while Jim is just breaking paintings.
Yes.
Yeah, I bet the money's in the painting, you fucking jackass.
I mean, he's looking in drawers with like CDs in them. I'm like, I don't think you're gonna find $200,000 in the
I
drawer.
have $200K behind the now that's what I call music collection.
Where can we stash this money? Let's put it in the VCR.
Yeah, why are you looking in there?
Inside the pillows of the fucking couch. That's the only way. So these two cops show up and they prove, like just about every other cop in this movie, that the NYPD is full of fucking morons.
This is ridiculous. Yeah.
They walk up to the door and it's answered by Looney Bin Jim, who's covered in cuts and bruises and bandages.
Yep.
They go, "Is everything okay here?" And he, in his best impression of a man who doesn't know how to act, goes, "No, officer, it's not okay. Follow me." And leads them inside.
They're just like, "Sure." No
Okay.
problem.
You're like,
Nothing shady.
seems legit.
Yeah, nothing shady at all.
You don't even need to open the door and see Looney Bin Jim. Just he opened the door and it's not the wife or the daughter.
Yeah, which you should probably know who lived there. This is the
Right.
detective's
Huh,
house.
You know who's there.
Yeah, we'll follow you in after bang bang.
Right.
Anyway, They walk in and they allow themselves to be led in, and Jim gets behind them,
Yeah, smart.
picks up a baseball bat that was there, and then cracks the one over the fucking face with it. That guy's dead. Gets into a bit of a fight with the female cop, who puts up a struggle until Ink pulls a decorative sword off the wall, and then they just shove her on it.
Yeah. Why is that sword there?
Every home should have a decorative sword.
Look, I got my own decorative sword. I'm not against it. But it's also not a thing that you suddenly draw as if it actually has a point or edge.
How do you know that
That's
thing
why I have an axe.
that was real? I love when the cops show up and Billy looks outside and it just goes, "Quops."
Oh,
Just
quops.
what a great pronunciation. Quops.
So the two cops are dead. The Soap, Budiansky, and Frank make their way over, which, by the way, Frank's not handcuffed to Budiansky anymore because now he's in the back of the car.
Oh, yeah.
They make their way over and they're like, well, we never heard back from the patrol car, which, like, that also should be something that dispatch is worried about and not just you two jackasses. Budiansky decides, I'm going to head in and see what's going on. And then tells Soap, you're going to take Frank back to the precinct and you're going to lock him up. Which means this man just had two cops get sent here to check in on everything, and they have not called back, and has decided, all right, I'm going to not only go in there alone, but I'm going to take the only possible backup I have and tell them to leave me here.
I don't need anybody
Tell
else.
no one about what's going on.
Not a great plan.
So as he goes in to
Budiansky.
try and check out the house, we get a plot twist because Soap hasn't been following Frank to try and catch him. Soap works with Frank.
Dun, dun, dun.
And so what I love is that it just immediately, like, after a moment of silence, Frank just goes, let me go. He's like, well, gee, Frank, giving you a lead every once in a while or the password to the police precinct, crime computer or whatever
thing.
the hell he
I
calls
gave
it.
you my Netflix.
That's one thing, man. And it's like, yeah, you've been aiding and abetting him this whole time to murder criminals. You're telling me you're not going to let him out of custody to do the thing you've already helped him do?
Yeah, but then
The
people
fuck?
will know I did it.
Now it's a problem.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, as if anybody else in the precinct gives a shit if you helped the Punisher. They all do.
Yeah.
So he lets Frank out. Now, while Budiansky gets into the house, he immediately gets captured because he walks in and finds, two of them are holding the mother and daughter hostage. And they basically tell him, like, just sit down. And he does. They then hear a noise off in the distance, and Pitsy tells Ink to go see what that was. He's like, okay. As he goes over to check out the sound, he gets halfway there and decides, well, before I do that, I should do some cocaine about it. He puts his shotgun down.
Another great scene.
It's great.
Takes out his little thing of cocaine that he's carrying around, goes to take a hit, when Frank pops out from around the door, grabs him, and punches his fist directly through the man's face,
Punches a hole in his head.
Punches a
crushing
hole.
his face and making a hole in his
Like
fucking
a
head.
human
His
jackhammer.
head was made out of watermelon. It was all liquid. Wow.
This is why
great.
no one believes it when the cops hit themselves and say, the Punisher knocked me out.
They're like,
Because the man punched a dude's head into nothing.
it's amazing.
You got his whole nasal cavity was
great
softened
kill.
up from the coke.
Yeah.
so,
He's done so much coke.
there
It
you
was
go.
like pudding. It was already.
So he
soft.
then picks up the shotgun. He walks in. He points it at Pitts. At which point he then picks up the girl, and Budiansky gets up, takes Pitsy's gun away, and has him sit down, and starts to read him his Miranda rights. At which point Frank shoots him in the face with Ink's shotgun,
Oh yeah, just
blowing his head off as well.
in front of the girl.
And while he's holding
Well, no,
the girl,
with the girl nearby,
Yeah.
because she was definitely on his shoulder, not looking.
you're traumatizing her.
But
But
damned if she's not deaf.
there will be no Miranda rights here.
Which brings about my favorite reaction from Budiansky, which is just, God damn it, Castle!
You got some on me.
So they're like, all right, well, we got to get the family. We got to get out of here. This then leads to them getting into a gunfight with Jim and Jigsaw. Soap comes in to help out. And so he and Budiansky get into a gunfight with Jim and Jigsaw. Punisher escapes out of the house with the wife and daughter. The police finally arrive. And they arrest Jigsaw and his brother.
Oh, they got him. Movie's over.
They got him.
Actually,
they got their guys.
Listen, movie's not over, but I think this is a good spot to take a break.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We're going to play some promos, and we're going to come back and finish up this masterpiece of Punisher Warzone right after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
What's up? This is Brian, and I'm the host of Citizens of Pawnee, a Parks and Recreation podcast. That's right, a podcast dedicated to my favorite TV show, Parks and Rec. Every week I discuss my favorite things about the show, which include character breakdowns, episode rewatches, and other random facts and tidbits about the show. You can find me on Instagram at Citizens of Pawnee Podcast and listen wherever you get your podcasts now. You will literally love it.
Hey there, everyone. Brian here, host of TV Trivia Pod. It's a trivia-style podcast focusing on TV and movies. Listen in for questions like, what's the name of Michael Scott's screenplay? What do you say to view the Marauders map? And what's everyone eating in the post-credit scene of Avengers? Play along to TV Trivia Pod anywhere you get podcasts. And stay tuned for more trivia.
Jock and Nerd.
Listener, if you enjoy the show, if you are a fan of the What the Fuck Happened series, you should definitely join our Patreon fan club. Visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon. Jock and Nerd. And you can give back and get stuff like access to an exclusive podcast feed where the shows come out early. There's bonus content. There's extra movie reviews. There's post-show shit. Lots of extra fun content there. You can join us on our monthly Discord hangouts. You can get a t-shirt. You can pick a movie for us to review. A lot of fun tiers over on the Patreon. Check it out today. Okay, Delhauers.
So, Imran,
Yeah.
before we move on,
Yeah.
I do have an idea to float by you
Yeah.
of a possible thing I could do for your Patreon moving forward.
I'm listening.
Oh, no. This is not an idea we just give away on the podcast.
Okay.
You got to talk about it.
Okay.
And then if you approve of it,
Okay.
it is a thing that maybe they should start paying the Patreon to find out about.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Delhauer, continue.
So, the police have finally caught the Jigsaw and his stupid brother. And Jigsaw makes a comment about how he wants a lawyer. And the police claim, you'll get your lawyer, but you're not getting out from this one, you son of a bitch. Meanwhile, Frank Castle has done the best thing he can think to protect this woman and her young daughter. He has brought them down into the fucking subway tunnels of New York
Oh, they
City
should be safe there. There's nothing wrong with that.
and brought them back to his secret lair.
Sure, bring a little girl where there's just guns and ammunition.
Literally just fucking so many
just
guns
killing machines
out.
everywhere. Good.
But there is a hot plate.
Oh, that's
There's a
good.
hot-
You can have some oatmeal.
It's true.
Yeah.
And
MREs, yeah.
there's a trunk full of things that his kids used to own. Here is moment number 2 that proves that this little girl sucks. The first thing she does when she gets to the Punisher's hideout is she runs over to this trunk, doesn't say anything, and just starts opening it.
Yeah, what are you doing? There be grenades in there. What the fuck?
And like the mother, rightfully so, was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And Frank responds with, "Oh, she's a smart one, I see. What does that mean?" And then he tells her, "Go ahead, open it. Go on, sweetie. The weird gun-toting stranger is telling you to open a door."
It won't explode. It's fine.
And so she finds that it's, all stuff that his
This is
kids used to
porn.
own.
No.
It's a
Does she-
porn stand.
Does she also, again, did she not realize this man killed her dad? Like, what is going
Did the
on here?
mom not tell her yet? What happened?
There's some sort of weird thing about this little girl where, like, the moment she saw Frank Castle at her dad's funeral, she was like,
I love him.
"That guy's my new dad."
is it established? Was it an accident? Like he didn't mean to kill her?
Well, no, it's that he meant to kill the dude. He didn't know he was an FBI agent. So, like, he thought he was just gunning down another random fucking mook.
Right. And none of these people seem to get that.
Yeah, because, when someone you love gets murdered by someone that the news keeps telling you is a thoughtless, psychopathic vigilante, then you just get mad about it.
And then you forget.
They don't have all the things that we have, Ruggs, like having heard him say 3 sentences. So she opens up this trunk. She finds a snow globe with like a merry-go-round in it or whatever. And he comments that it was his daughter's favorite toy. Tell you right now, snow globes, not really a toy. Not much you can do with them other than shake them and put them down.
That's about it.
But she asks, will your daughter be mad if I play with it? Oh, yeah, my wife and kids are just out at the moment. They'll be back to the underground lair anytime now.
I'm sure they won't mind a bit.
So he says, no, she won't mind. And they all go to bed. Meanwhile, back at the police precinct, Budiansky is surprised to see the FBI show up. Or I think it was Homeland Security. There's people that were established earlier. He says, what's going on? He says, well, we're here to see Billy Rosati. He says he has information about your former partner's case that he's going to give to us in exchange for a lighter sentence. Oh, here's a bit of character development we didn't touch on before because this movie is a weird fucking train wreck. So apparently, the FBI agent that was undercover was Budiansky's former partner.
Oh, right.
They both worked Vice for the FBI. And then when they made a major bust, they didn't have anything to show for it because Budiansky fucking took all of the drugs and did them. And so he got kicked off the force, I guess.
That's what happened? Budiansky's the worst.
He says that, like, oh, yeah, we didn't have anything to show for it. It was my fault. And he says that as punishment, the partner Donatelli was forced to go undercover with, like, Rosati's gang.
Okay.
And Budiansky was basically just, like, kicked off the case.
That's really
It seems like a firing moment, but whatever.
So he talks about, like, so, like, it's my fault he was there, which means it's my fault he got killed. And he's telling this to Soap when they're driving around looking for the Punisher. And then Soap asks him, like, so you still ski the Alps? And, like, brushes at his nose.
Yeah.
And Budiansky's like, no, that was in the past. Like, oh, okay, man.
Sure.
I'll tell you right now, you don't have the build of a former cokehead. Apparently, Jigsaw wants to make a deal with the government. And when they go to meet him at the interrogation room, as I said, clearly Looney Bin Jim is keeping up with his promise because the one-way mirror has been destroyed.
Nice little touch. Attention to detail there.
Yeah, I was going to say,
important.
it proves somebody read their own fucking script. So they go in to make the talk to him, and they basically tell him, like, look, you tell us what you have, and if we think it's good enough, then you'll just get life in prison. And he says, no. I know the deal when it's going down tonight and where and with who. And the only way I'm telling anybody is if you give me and my brother immunity as well as one other thing. And then we leave that scene because, cliffhangers.
a Ferrari. I don't know.
I want applesauce.
I want a year's supply of applesauce and kidneys.
Lifetime supply.
Swedish kidneys.
It's a horrible deal the fucking government makes, first of all.
So we then have the deal with the Russians go down, and they show that they are bringing in their biological weapons that look exactly like the fucking vials from like the Resident Evil movies. And, Billy says, great, this all looks good. Here you go, boys. And Homeland Security storms in and arrests all the Russians. And the main Russian makes a comment about, sorry, no, I was about to do the Jigsaw accent.
Wrong accent.
You son of a bitch. My father will kill you for this. which is great. Great threat to make. My daddy's going to take care of you for me. Then he leaves. The FBI says, yeah, you kept up your part of the bargain. Here's the other thing we agreed to besides diplomatic immunity. And that was that they gave him an entire dossier on Microchip, a known associate of Frank Castle's. Which,
What?
if you guys have this,
Why don't you just get him?
why don't you just go pick him up? It's not like Micro's fucking hiding. At least I don't think he is. And that dossier leads them to him. Morning comes around, and Frank is making breakfast for his guests. They are egg and cheese MREs. And the moment the little girl tastes it, she goes, oh, yuck! Gets yelled at by her mom because this little girl sucks.
It's an ungrateful little girl.
She is a piece of shit. At which point, then Frank hears somebody approaching and draws his gun on Latin King Boy. He's like, hey, I'm here to help you out because we're supposed to get these people out of the city. It's like, where's Micro? Well, his mom wasn't doing well, so he stayed home with her. He's like, ugh, I don't like that. So Frank's going to go find Micro because apparently it's not okay that Micro didn't come here. But then he tells the Latin King guy, like, you're going to stay here and you're going to watch them. And his immediate reaction is to look at the little girl and go, oh, yeah, we're going to be homies, right? And then try and, like, dap her up. And it's just like, wrong energy, bro. You brought the wrong energy to this situation. I wouldn't trust you with shit after that. So Frank then packs a bunch of guns and tells the dude, like, don't make me regret leaving you here. And you know he will. He leaves to go find Micro at his mom's place. But what we see is that it looks like Jigsaw and Jim already found Micro.
Uh-oh.
But before that, we have a little conversation between the two of them that is some of the worst acting in front of one of the worst green screens I've ever seen. Because the scene starts and it's them in the car. And I don't know if they didn't hear the word action or what it was, but it's a solid 10 seconds of them not talking.
Are we supposed to be talking here?
Before then Jim goes, that was fun.
He's like, I have a line.
What was? The deal with the Russians? Is that what was fun? What is happening? So then Jigsaw talks all about like, oh yeah, we're going to go out and we're going to recruit just like the army does. And we'll offer them money and a chance at college that they'll never go to. And then they'll tell them they'll never have to go to Iraq.
The way that they're walking the next scene is hilarious.
This is the moment when it was like,
broad
oh yeah,
daylight.
we finally have fully embraced the absolute fucking cartoon that is these two characters. But so then the big reveal at the end is what was fun was they kidnapped Micro and he's in the back of the car. So Frank shows up at Micro's mom's place with the most ridiculous fucking revolver I have ever seen in my life. This thing is already a giant like elephant gun that he then has a fucking barrel compensator on.
Of course, it's Punisher.
So he makes his way in. He sees Micro's not here. And instead finds Micro's mother's corpse with half of her head blown off.
God, was that necessary? That's
Just
No, it's not.
still sitting up in the chair.
very graphic. Her head's blown off. I was
Like,
like,
how is
what
that
the
body
fuck?
propped like that?
Jesus.
Yeah, just half blown. I mean, just ridiculous violence.
It's just over the top.
So,
So, anyways,
next scene.
the way you're describing it, no joke, is the way the movie is cut.
Yep.
It really is.
Yeah.
It just, again, this is it. We haven't had this since Green Lantern,
Yeah.
when it really is just, and then the scene ends.
No transition, no kind of flow.
Like it's only so much removed from Green Lantern that it's not constantly. And then he went home.
Well, he went home a lot now, didn't he? Yeah.
Jigsaw and Jimmy decide they're going to open up the abandoned Brad Street Hotel.
Oh, that's the guy from who draws the comics.
That's the guy who drew the comic covers.
Brad Street.
And now they're going to go on a recruiting drive. But funny enough, before we get the full recruitment scene, we get a scene in which Jimmy and, I guess just Jimmy, shows up at Punisher's underground lair.
Right.
And he kills the Latin King guy with a fire axe and makes a bunch of puns about it.
Let me ask you a question. This is great.
Then he chases the mom and daughter down and catches them because that's the end of the scene.
And I don't understand the timing of this because while Frank is heading over to Micro's house where those guys already were, they would have passed each other.
These two literally would have had to pass each other on the fucking street.
Where he just was to get the Donatelli family, where you would have fucking passed each other. What happened here?
So then he comes back and he finds the Latin King guy bleeding out with, an axe buried in him. And he's talking about like, I fucked up, Frank. I can't believe it. They got me. It's like, yeah, dude, we knew they would. Like, Jim's not really a threat, but you're also no one. I don't know your name.
Carlos. I think it was Carlos.
Sure. Let's say it was.
Yeah.
So he begs Frank to mercy kill him because he doesn't want to bleed out from a bunch of fire axe wounds, which, by the way, Frank finds him with an axe buried in his chest.
Yeah.
And he pulls it out of him.
That's probably not what you want to do.
And then tells him, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. No, he's not, dude. You made it worse.
Blood. Nick the
He
aorta.
just pulls that axe out with no regard for the fact that that's going to probably make him in more pain.
Oh, yeah. So Frank puts him down.
Of course. How much of a boner do you think Frank got at Mercy Killing? Like, that's his favorite thing.
He's like, I'm helping out a friend and killing someone.
I'm being a good man.
It's both things I love in one right here.
There's nothing Frank loves more than being a bro. So that's what then leads to, at the Brad Street scene when they're turning on the lights and everything, we then reveal that, yes, they have Micro, they have the daughter, they have the wife, they've all been kidnapped. The next scene, he's at the church and he's lamenting to the priest about how, I need to punish the wicked and I can't forgive people who sin. And, they make a comment about how apparently at one point Frank Castle tried to be a priest.
Oh, yeah.
He did not need that.
He was in the seminary or something, he says?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Apparently he was in the seminary at one point, which might have been the first year after his family died, I guess.
And then he's like, fuck this, I'm going to kill people.
But like when he was like, I read somewhere that apparently he was like, yeah, he was in the seminary, but then Frank Castle found he could never forgive sinners. It's like,
okay.
Okay.
Not very Jesus-like.
We're kind of crossing a line between like, I'll kill murderers and like, you ate fish on a Friday during Lent, so I'm gonna have to put you down.
Same thing.
But anyway, he talks to the priest, and we get, one of my favorite worst lines in a movie ever, where the priest says something along the lines of like, well, may God look over you, Frank. And he's like, sometimes I wish I could get my hands on God.
That's a great line. That's fucking hilarious.
Okay.
Whoa,
look, I know we had the whole line from the previous movie when the guy said via con Dios to him.
Yeah.
And he's like, God's going to sit this one out. Which honestly, that one's a badass line.
Yeah.
This one makes Frank Castle sound like a fucking Looney Tune.
Wants to murder.
What does he say about hell to him? Because he goes, when the guy dies in the previous scene, he goes, I'll see you in hell. He's like, if I see you there, I'm kicking you out or something like that.
Something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna kick your ass if I see you in
no,
hell.
I guess it's like if I see you there, I'll kick your ass or some shit like that. Like no, you go to heaven. Like
Got it.
You don't get to decide that, Frank.
Got it. Don't go to hell. I'll remember that as I'm dying.
Well, if he gets his hands on God, he'll straighten him out.
Sometimes.
That's a whole other story that they wrote in the 90s. So
next scene.
Now we get to the recruitment of all the gangs in New York.
Hilarious montage.
Very funny moment.
Yeah.
With having the two of them in front of the video screen that is the American flag.
He's giving this rah speech.
As he's telling them that, we want you to be all you could be.
It's so great.
And it's a wonderful moment because it then keeps cutting back to the different gangs because he's talking to the Triads and he's talking to the Irish and he's talking to a Black Street gang. And then finally, I don't know if this happened to you guys, but it happened on the Blu-ray I have.
Oh.
When he finally finishes that speech and they do the big scene where now all the gangs are marching their way over to the church.
Yeah.
it's supposed to cut into a song from Slipknot in the soundtrack as they're doing that.
Oh.
The mixing on my Blu-ray is fucked up, where the song becomes very, very quiet in the background, but you hear all of the sound effects of them like walking and hopping over fences.
I may have heard that, and I was like, what the fuck? I had to restart the thing. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
It starts off with the guitar, so like the guitar like line of it.
Yeah.
And then it just drops out and it's almost inaudible.
Yeah, that's weird.
So
That's poor
I
editing.
don't remember it being that way in the theater. So somewhere when they mixed it for like home media, they fucked it up and never fixed it.
Yeah, like you hear the Foley effects, and the sound is, the song is way under. Yeah. I did see that.
That is weird.
But so they've recruited their army that they want to have fight Frank Castle. Frank goes back, and now we're getting a classic third act gearing up for a fight.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's loading his guns and he's putting on his vest and he's got his grenades and blah, blah.
This is the part of the movie where they shouldn't have shown Frank Castle's arms because, like, up until then, he's been covered up. And your mind, you could say he's cock diesel, like underneath all that shit. But then you see him and he's got these like kind of spindly arms, and it just ruins that whole effect.
I was going to make a comment on the arms too. I'm glad we're thinking along the same lines here. I was thinking this would have been perfect if he rips off the sleeves and they're Arnold arms underneath.
Oh yeah,
and you just go.
They should have had a body double.
The thing that
commando style.
Yeah, it's very commando.
The thing that I thought about it was this is the moment from the Tom Jane Punisher that he decides in the third act he goes fully fucking sleeveless when he's rocking the vest and everything for that final combat scene, because this is now him at war. And he's like, yeah, he's going full on Arnie Commando about it. But instead, we see that Ray Stevens has no definition in his arms.
He did not bother.
And then we put him right back in that dopey fucking sweater.
Yeah, they could have, like, if I was them, I would have given him a little bit more of a muscle suit underneath.
Maybe,
just something that just kind of like beef him up a little bit. And then he should never be out of that suit, like, or never uncovered.
Yeah.
And I think that would have worked a little bit better. But anyway, that whole arm thing, they should never have exposed that.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention in the church, he also meets with Budiansky and basically tells him, Jigsaw kidnapped Donatelli's wife and daughter, and I need your help so we can go get them. And Budiansky's like, well, maybe if you had just given her over to the police, this never would have happened. And Frank's like, it's not time for what ifs anymore. It's like, yeah, no, I mean, he's not wrong though.
Yeah.
You fucked up.
Yeah, Budiansky
every step of the way.
Yeah, Budiansky sucks. You should be happy. He's helping you.
So he agrees to help. He goes back to the police station. He gets soap and he says, yeah, we need to go and help your buddy Frank because he's got to go get, Donatelli's wife and daughter. But I have an idea. And they stop off and they recruit the Russian guy's dad and the rest of the Russian mafia who didn't get arrested by Homeland Security. And says, I want to give you the guy who got your son put away in jail for life on a silver platter.
All right.
And the Russians agree to help.
Sure.
So all of the gangs that have been recruited by Jigsaw are now getting themselves set up in the Brad Street Hotel, blockading doors and building little labyrinths in hallways so that way they can all be this massive fighting force to stop Frank from getting to Jigsaw.
This gun porn is great too. You see them load all their weapons and
loading guns, handing out guns,
unnecessary
kissing guns, kissing each other,
gun porn,
each other,
smacking each other on the ass, getting excited.
Just going, oh yeah,
oiling each other up.
Look at my weapon.
Oiling the guns, oiling their bros. Everyone's so horny.
Look at this barrel.
So they get themselves all set up, and the Russians show up, and they march single file just up the road carrying weapons cases.
Why are they walking single file? Is that what gangs do? Is that what you were trained? Walk single file?
I mean, I've seen the Warriors, and they think that's what gangs do.
There's a definite pecking order. I get to go first.
Yeah,
I'm in front because I'm wearing a hat.
Well,
then you get to go because you've got the yellow case. Then the guy behind you because he's got a mustache. So they make their way up, and then Soap and Budiansky are just standing on the sidewalk like a block away from the hotel, just watching this happen. And Frank just pops up out of the side of the fucking like screen.
Hey, how
He
you
goes,
doing?
"Who's that?" They go, "That's the Russians. They're going to help." He goes, "Okay." And the Russians decide to help. They make their way up to the door of the hotel where they knock. And on the first floor, it's all of the triads. And they hear the knock and they're like, the fuck do we do about it?
Should I answer?
We're expecting Frank Castle
You
to
get that.
knock and be let in.
No, you get that. I'm not getting it. You get it.
So they're like, go get it. No, you get it. I'm not going to get it. Then one guy's like, fucking, I'll get it. It's like, man, that guy needs a raise because he is walking towards what he assumes is the Punisher, just ready. He slides open the little door. He's like, what's the password? No, he doesn't really say that, but that's the feeling you get of this scene where she's like, who are you? And they're like, we're the Russian mafia. We want to see Jigsaw. It's like, there's no Jigsaw here. And he goes, we're here for the Punisher party.
That's the code word.
And they're like,
oh, come on in then. No problem.
Did you bring
Guys
your own
are
oil?
late. Did you guys bring snacks?
So they open the door. And they let the Russians in. So while that's happening, Frank then tells the other two, okay, we're going to go in. And Budiansky's like, I'm going in with you. He's like, I understand. You know, I made a call once. It wound up being the worst one I ever made, and it led to a lot of people getting hurt. Now I'm not going to let you do the same thing. And he knocks him out.
Hits him with his rifle.
He fucking just butts him with the rifle unconscious.
Poor Soap has to hold him up like he catches
Well, I love
him.
that Soap catches him. He goes, oh, come on, Frank. He's going to take that out on me.
Soap is so whiny.
So Frank then goes running just up the road and into the alleyway next to the hotel. Like, we established earlier that people on various floors and the roof of this building are just watching the streets.
They don't see any of this.
And he's just like, I'm just going to run. I don't think they'll notice. And they don't. Inside, the Russians make their way into the lobby of the hotel where they are now face to face with the triads. And they open up the cases with all their AK-47s in them. They start passing them out to each other. The triads are looking at them like,
okay.
Yeah,
we need guns. We got
Cool.
guns. You
guys got guns? We got guns? I like your guns.
Yeah.
You like our guns?
Yeah.
You want to see the guns? And the Russians are like, okay, now that we all have guns, and they start shooting the triads,
Dun, dun, dun.
just lined up in the hallway facing these guys. It's just like, well, I guess we're going to open fire on you now.
Yeah, they're just no strategy whatsoever.
No.
We're going to
No,
be in the middle and start firing off.
We're going to stand here in an open hallway and shoot at you guys who put barricades up for you. And it works. So Frank goes climbing the scaffolding next to the building, or on the building next to the hotel, and gets up like two floors, 3 floors, whatever it is. And this is where he does his skyscraper jump.
Oh my God.
Where he just fucking launches off of it and bodies his way through a window into a hallway.
Lands perfectly. I mean, it's kind of badass and completely unbelievable, but fun.
And then he gets into a gunfight with what I'm assuming is the Irish gang, because it's the only white guys. But it has some pretty great moments in it, like when he takes a grenade, puts it in a paint can, kicks it down the hallway, banks it off of a wall and into a room with a guy. And when he sees the grenade at the floor, he gives one of those, shit responses before it blows up and kills him.
Can I ask, was it necessary to put it in the paint can? Couldn't you just throw the grenade in the fucking room? Wouldn't that have been better?
Shut up, Imran.
All right, never mind. I'll retract that.
So at one point I have written, what the fuck is anybody's plan? He goes running down the hallway, killing a bunch of other guys. He gets to one point where he gets to a door where we see through the wall on the other side of this door is like 10 gangbangers just waiting for him. And he knows it because we establish in this scene that the Punisher has like superhuman hearing.
That was a weird moment. Yes, he's standing there, and now you can hear a guy in the room down the hall. I was like, what? You can hear? You have super hearing? What?
So he then uses his superhuman strength to punch his gun through the door and fire a grenade launcher round into the room and blow everybody up.
It's pretty fucking great, though.
It is great. He then kicks the door in, and he sees like 3 dudes who aren't dead, and he mercy kills them because that's the only way Frank can get
But
off.
there's a dude pinned to the wall with a thing in his head, and Frank still shoots him. And I'm like, I don't think you need to waste your bullets on that guy. Also,
Sometimes
Frank
you just got to be sure.
Frank could have just walked by that room entirely and gone on with his.
No, Imran, because then they would have been behind him.
Well, maybe, but they didn't know he was not there. But
anyway,
yeah.
Continues down the hall where he shoots a bunch of other guys. At which point, Jigsaw and Looney Bin Jim, who have brought their 3 hostages up to some sort of fire pit room.
Yeah,
It's like a jacuzzi, a hot tub.
like a bath.
And they're tied with these cartoonish purple giant ropes.
No, so that's very obviously they're tied to the pillars with the velvet ropes you would put out to like build lines.
It just, yes.
I'm just amazed that there's this room that exists inside of this dilapidated building.
What is this?
And it's held up really well. That's why you invest in marble.
Yeah,
And
it's like a
They
Turkish
still
bath.
have LED neon lights
There's
everywhere.
it's like a Turkish bath, and it's just amazing.
So
It's a ritual sacrifice room, clearly.
at which point Jigsaw tells Jim, like, go on, and just sicks him like a dog out to go get Frank.
It's time. He says,
So Frank
Toy.
kills a few other guys. He opens up an elevator shaft, and on top of the elevator car is this very fat Irish guy who's smoking weed. And he goes, "Oh, fuck," before he gets shot and his head blows
Okay,
up.
what the fuck? What was that guy? What that guy was like on top of the elevator, sitting. It wasn't even in the elevator. There was. I don't understand what that guy was doing there.
Hiding.
First of all,
Also,
getting
how does
high.
he not? How does he not hear anything? He just is completely.
some good shit he was smoking.
Yeah, he's completely ambivalent to, or not
Now-
even hearing anything that's happening out there.
The question that I feel like you're both avoiding, though, is immediately after killing that guy, Looney Bin Jim drops down out of the elevator shaft and attacks Frank.
Wait, but before that, I also
When did he fucking get there?
I love the unnecessary slide on the knees with the 2 hands move Frank does. It's
Oh, yes.
fantastic. But I'm like, why are you going down on your knees? But it was fucking cool.
Or when he does the sideways run past the staircase,
Oh,
just
yeah.
unloading
Yeah.
with the fucking submachine gun.
They miss. His accuracy is always dead
I was
on.
going to say, I don't know how this man is able to like land all these shots, but he's just blowing away at people
He's
wildly.
not even really looking.
But
He's got
He-
these souped up guns. They're
he
like
gets all
really
of them.
good targeting.
Yeah.
so anyway, we now get the boss fight of Frank Castle versus LBJ.
Someone who's 6'4"
LeBron
versus someone
James.
who's
LeBron James
5'4".
is in this.
And
Yeah, he's small.
it's underwhelming.
There's more parkour though. He's employing parkour.
Yeah,
moves.
it's funny that he does a lot of these like flipping off the walls and running up the walls and doing these flying knees and all this shit, and he's biting the Punisher a whole bunch.
He's also doing his best Hannibal Lecter impersonation by punching him and telling him, "Oh, urine in the blood in the urine."
Yeah, he's
and
narrating.
telling him,
Early signs of kidney failure.
Right.
That's a
Then
torn
he
meniscus.
kicks him in the knee. That's a
meniscus.
torn meniscus.
By the way, there's guns lying around everywhere. He could have just picked up and shot Frank and been done with it, but no.
so the note that I have written is Jim talks way too fucking
Yeah.
much.
narrating
and
his
it's-
fight.
It's one of those things where it's like you kind of learn as you grow up. Dudes who love to talk when they're in a fight do so because very much like Spider-Man, they're fucking terrified and they're trying to hype themselves up. And it's very true here because once he stops talking, Punisher grabs him and shows that he is a fucking tank of a man. Because he picks him up, he just fucking baseball swings him into a mirror. Body drops him through a fucking porcelain sink, corners him in the stall in a bathroom, and just starts beating on him and dragging him across the glass on the floor. And the only reason the fight ends is because Jim picks a bunch of the glass up and like pocket sands it at
Yeah,
him
he's like-
and runs away.
He's like, oh shit, I can't take him. I do love that he threw him through that window
And they
above the
immediately
door.
cut to him like going
Yeah.
into the other.
And then
he's
it
back.
cuts to him running back into the sacrificial chamber room
Instantly.
and like having Jigsaw throw him a gun
Really
where he
good.
runs over and points it at the girl.
Now,
And then
now you're gonna get a gun.
Frank runs in right behind him as if there was a chase scene we didn't see.
Yeah, it seems like he was on like maybe like the middle floor.
It was a different
all of a
floor.
sudden at the top of the building.
Yeah, he jumped in at like the 3rd floor. He might have gone up 1 to the 4th, but this was a skyscraper hotel.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure these dudes are up in the penthouse. So like you ran all the way here to like floor 29. Sure, whatever. The movie's almost fucking over.
It just seems like they're really rushing to the end here.
So we get there into the sacrificial chamber room, and Jigsaw decides he's going to give Punisher the Batman Forever treatment of, well, I'm going to, like there's a whole thing where he tells him to put his gun down, and he picks it up, and then he shoots him with his own gun until he's got 1 bullet, whatever. Gives it back to him, and he's like, now you have to make a choice. You can either shoot your friend, the fat guy, or you can shoot the little girl, and then we'll let the others go. Now, they don't threaten the mom ever at this point. They have 3 hostages.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's like, well, you could either kill the guy or kill the girl. The mom is going to live no matter what. But you have to make your choice. And like, Microchip is just like, Frank, fucking come on, man. You're not going to shoot a kid. You and I know this. Just fucking shoot me already. Come on. What are you doing? So he aims the gun at Micro, but he can't do it, man.
You can't kill Micro. Come on, Frank.
At which point, they're like, okay, fine, we'll shoot the little girl. And he tells him, no, wait, stop. And he picks up the gun, and he promises to Micro, you won't feel a thing. And then he shoots Looney Bin Jim.
Oh, snap.
At which point, Jigsaw shoots Micro. And
That's
then
the only
he
way
goes
to
to
go
go
with
and
that
shoot
one.
the little girl.
He made the right call.
Frank
You made the
runs, jumps, and gets in front of the bullet. So now it's time for our final showdown between hero and villain. We've been waiting all movie for this, for them to finally come face to face. And Frank whips the shit out of Jigsaw, because never once in this movie have we ever established that this man can actually get into a fist fight and win. And the movie doesn't play around with that. He just gets bodied by Frank Castle. Like, I think he gets in 1 punch, but Frank, like, is just haymakering him, and he's fucking putting his back over the marble stairs and, like, breaking fucking shit over him. And so, like, at one point, he is just hammering the dude, and then Donatelli's wife is just like, Frank.
Remember us? We're still tied up
Like,
over here.
"Oh, yeah, right." He goes over and he unties them, and he's like, go down to the street and get out of here. And he walks back over to Jigsaw, who's still on the ground.
No way.
He like skewers him, and then puts him on the barbecue.
He picks him up, and he stabs him through the stomach and fucking impales him with a flagpole and throws him on whatever this weird, like, fucking fire table was that was in the middle of the room, and he instantly goes up. And Frank says to him, this is only the beginning.
What does that mean?
What?
I also love when they do the the shots where they're a little bit further away. It's clearly a dummy.
Oh, in the
on
fire? Oh,
but then when they do the close-ups of his face, it's clearly CGI fire on his face.
coming out of his face.
And like to the point where they also have it like his one wonky eye catches fire for some reason.
There's fire coming out of his face. It looks so bad. But this is just the beginning. Did he think there was going to be more movies?
Would you not? I don't know. I've never been stabbed through the body.
Yeah.
Nor thrown into fire.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine if I was thrown into fire, I would do the best I can to get up.
To
I don't know if I would
roll
be there.
off or something.
The only thing I can imagine is because he has the fire like the flagpole through his body
I guess he
sideways.
can't roll over.
He
Yeah.
can't roll.
He might got stuck in there.
And if it fucked up like his musculature or whatever, it's not like he could sit up.
Maybe it severed his spine. Okay, I'll give him a little.
It's possible.
The man's cooked. He's cooked.
Oh, there you go.
Let him cook.
Let him cook. He did. Frank let him cook.
And so Jigsaw's dead. We go down to the street. And here's the funny thing. They made mention earlier that the reason the cops were never going to show up was that Budiansky had put a call in like to get a quote-unquote demolition order.
Explosives
and
permit.
claimed, we'll be setting off dynamite all night. No one will call it in.
Yeah.
Dynamite?
What?
And gunfire
Yeah. Two different things.
sound very different, and they don't explode at such a succession.
Hey, we're going to be making lots of microwave popcorn over here.
Yes. Just don't mind us. We're having movie night.
We're having a Jiffy Pop party at this abandoned hotel.
Trying to break a Guinness World Record. Most Jiffy Pop made at once. Don't.
So they come downstairs, and Budiansky is like awake now, and he's just fine with the fact that he got knocked out. And he's with Donatelli and her daughter, and then they come downstairs and they're like, "Oh, well, where's Frank?" She's like, "He's alive. He saved us." And then Soap goes, "And Micro?" And she just does like the shaking of her head, like solemnly. She doesn't know that man.
Yeah. That's true. She never met him.
True. That's a great point.
Like, did the other guy that get kidnapped get away? Clearly not. He's not here. So then Frank walks down and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go home now. I'm kind of beat up a little bit. I'm done. Shift over." And then Donatelli's like, "Oh, thank you for saving us." He's like, "Yeah, great, good for you. I'm out of here." And he and Soap walk away. And Soap's like, "I'll buy you a drink." The man shouldn't have alcohol right now. He kind of needs like bed rest, a blood transfusion, and a whole lot of water. And so Donatelli and Budiansky and the daughter are out of the movie. And then as Frank and Soap are walking away, Soap's talking about like, "Yeah, Frank, maybe it's time for you to, I don't know, like retire. You know, it's you could always, I'm pretty sure you killed every villain that's in the city, and those that you didn't, you could always believe in the concept of reformation and being, going to prison." And then he turns around and Frank Batmaned his way away. And instantly, Soap gets fucking mugged.
What are the odds?
The guy walks up, I was like, "Give me your fucking wallet."
So a cop is not carrying a gun and just going to take it from some
Frank.
And so then he's just Frank. A man who was just a second ago talking about maybe you should give up killing people, Frank, is now begging Frank to come back out of the shadows and kill this guy, which he does. The end.
Well, okay, this end scene is so ridiculous, but did Frank stop to just take a piss? Is that what happened? And then I also love the sign in the background when he pops up, "Jesus saves," and then the Jesus part fades away. And then, Frank just murders another dude in front of Soap.
And it's like he went to go Batman away
so
and like disappear into the shadows, but because Soap is so incompetent, he had to hobble his ass back over here to fucking kill this
He's
guy.
like hiding behind the bush. He's just like, "I hope he goes away."
Yeah, what happened?
I hope he keeps walking and talking.
Maybe if I shut up, he'll keep going.
Fuck.
It's the most cliched, tropey way to end. It's almost like an end credit scene that they shoved at the end. But roll credits. Fantastic job, Delhauer. Let us get into the what the fuck happened of it all. Now, in 2004, there was that Thomas Jane Punisher, and they announced the sequel, and it was supposed to be Thomas Jane, and that shit didn't happen. What happened here?
So it was supposed to be Thomas Jane. They were going to move forward with a sequel with him and the director of his movie, Jonathan Henslaw, or Hensley, maybe. I don't remember how they pronounce it.
He slays.
But the problem was they couldn't find a script that they liked and would move forward with, and kind of both just fell off. It got to a point where Henslaw, whatever his name is, left. But Tom Jane was still like tied on to be Punisher again. But once like the new script had come around and Lexi Alexander was coming on board, he didn't like where they were going with it. And he wanted something that was going to be more grounded and more similar to the one he made in 2004, and said, "Never mind, I don't want to be here anymore." They wound up bringing on Ray Stevenson. I do believe it's someone at some point, it was like Kevin Feige had a say and brought up Ray Stevenson as a possibility.
Oh, yeah.
And like pitched him to Lexi Alexander. And after she watched like 2 episodes of Rome, she was like, "Yep, that's fine. I'll have him."
It's the guy. I mean, to their credit, it's based off the Punisher Max series written by Garth Ennis. The covers by Tim Bradstreet. He looks like the guy Tim Bradstreet draws.
The Steve Dillon version of Punisher very much looks like
the Tom Jane.
Well, it would be, if you wanted to go fully with the Max design, it would be if you had Ray Stevenson wearing the Tom Jane outfit with the long fucking trench coat and everything.
Oh, right.
But Lexi Alexander decided to put him in more of a militaristic look because she felt that made sense for him being former Marines. She apparently at one point was saying that she didn't want to have the skull on the suit because she, quote, believed it to look like it was, or believed it followed a kindergarten logic. And then ultimately, like, a bunch of fans were like, oh yeah, that's one of the main things you have to have is he has to have the skull. So she settled for like a skull you can barely see.
I didn't mind the faded skull and this collar armor.
I like the whole costume.
I do. I thought it looked really good.
I didn't mind it either.
Yeah.
Actually, I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that you can really notice about the movie, though, is the entire storyline about the undercover FBI agent.
Right.
Very clearly was left over from when Tom Jane was still supposed to be in it.
Oh.
Because in the 2004 movie, the origin for Frank Castle was that he was a former FBI agent who had been doing undercover work with the FBI, stopping like vice crimes.
Oh, right.
And then his whole family got murdered because they found out that he was the one who had been a part of like this family getting pinched. So it would make sense with that background if he would then have had a whole breakdown about killing an undercover FBI agent and then trying to figure out how do I protect his family.
Oh my God.
Because
right.
I know that there will be repercussions for them from the crime family that this guy was investigating.
But instead they reboot his whole fucking origin, don't they?
But instead they reboot his origin where now he's just a Marine captain whose family got shot to death in the park. And so the whole him having a massive boner for this FBI agent makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, it's not personal enough.
But so it like a major part of your story doesn't actually fit everything else you've put in here because you've completely gotten rid of the only part of your story it ties to. So then when you move on and you have this story about the FBI agent that has like concepts of like human, empathy and, caring and him doing what he can to do right by these people. And you match it with this absolute fucking Looney Tunes villain.
Oh my God.
And the whole concept that they built there. It's just, you have these very, very polar opposite concepts that they're now clashing together and demanding work together.
Yeah, it's jarring.
It's also very, I don't know if unfortunate is the word, because this movie was always gonna suck with what they put out there in a lot of ways. But the fact that it comes out in 2008 when you have another crime boss in the Joker with a fucked up face, and then you have this motherfucker doing his Jigsaw fucked up face crime boss, and it's just like, God, the dichotomy in performances between those two in the same year.
And especially when you see how much of Jigsaw's story is just ripped verbatim from Tim Burton's Batman.
That's, watching this again, I didn't realize how Batman it was. I was like, wait a minute, this is a fucking Jack Nicholson Batman all over again.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. So
it's very derivative.
Roger Ebert in his review called this the best looking bad movie he's ever seen. And I mean, I kind of agree. It looks great. It's fun. But it's bad, but it's still kind of entertaining and fun and wacky.
To me, when I was watching it, I've seen this a couple times. When I was rewatching it the other night, I went, this is a Marvel B movie in the 21st century that, for all intents and purposes, is bad. Like, actually really bad.
Right.
But it's the best. I'm just going to, we never rate these, but I'm going to do it right now. It's the best 4 out of 10 you'll ever see.
I mean, is it the best up until this point? Is it the best Punisher movie they have put out? It, in a way, captures the essence of the comics, but then
are we talking about this now, or is there still more to go?
Is there still more?
I mean, there's not really a whole lot more. The only other things we have are like when Lexi Alexander got brought on, she initially didn't want to do it. She then read some of the Punisher comics, said she really loved the design she saw from like the Garth Ennis runs. And really, like, basically said to Marvel, like, I'll make this, but I have to be allowed to make it essentially a panel-to-panel comic book adaptation as much as possible. And they were like, we don't give a shit. This isn't we're not trying to make this into one of our Marvel Universe movies, so whatever.
Yeah.
And so she was allowed to do what she wanted, and it was the only other thing that she really changed drastically was the Tom Jane Punisher movie has a lot more of like a 70s revenge film aesthetic and feel to it.
It's got like a Western, but not a Western.
Yeah. It's not
and it's far more grounded.
Yeah.
The reason that she decided she wanted to go to the absolute nth degree of extreme violence was when she went in to pitch this to Marvel. It was the same day as the the Virginia Tech shooting.
Oh shit!
And when the photos of the shooter for the Virginia Tech event came out, they showed him in his dorm room with a Punisher poster up on the wall.
Yeah.
And she basically was like, the only way I'm going to be allowed to make this movie still is it has to be a movie that is so over the top, it can't possibly be recreated by anybody.
Oh, interesting.
And that's when you get him punching through heads and doing spinning on chandeliers and all that shit.
Chandelier. So apparently also I learned she clashed with Lionsgate a lot. Marvel Studios, if there was a clashing vote, they would always lean towards the Lionsgate and let them do what they want. Patty Constantine was considered for the role of Jigsaw. And then Lexi actually saw an audition by Freddie Prinze Jr. for Jigsaw. She was impressed. She wanted to hire him.
She really wanted him, and then Lionsgate said no.
They always, Marvel sided with Lionsgate whenever there was an issue, and she kind of resented that.
And I mean, in all honesty, could Freddie Prinze Jr. have been worse?
I don't know. Freddie Prinze Jr. is Jigsaw. I can't even see that. I don't know.
He couldn't have been worse.
I don't think it could have been worse.
No.
Dominic West just fucking chews it up.
So let's just put it in perspective here. So Thomas Jane Punisher comes out. Not a terrible movie.
I like that movie.
Yeah,
it's good. I enjoy it.
Not a terrible movie because it works as a film. It doesn't work as a Punisher movie to me, but it works as a film. I don't think it doesn't feel like Punisher to me, honestly. It doesn't. It feels like a kind of like a more of a revenge movie, like Charles Bronson.
Yeah, like a vigilante revenge.
It's they took the story of Welcome Back Frank that Garth Ennis wrote, and they were like, okay, we're going to take all the bits that are extremely over the top and get rid of them, and we're just going to make them more regular man.
Yeah.
Where was that set? Was that in Florida?
Down in Florida.
Yeah, it's in Tampa. It's not even in New York.
Yeah, it's weird.
Which the Punisher can take place like somewhere else, but I think the origin has to be in New York City.
Yeah.
I think that makes it the mob and all that stuff. But it never felt like the Punisher to me. I thought it was a good movie and well acted, and he has a great arc. You see his whole origin and how his family gets killed, and he's a good actor. You can emote like the whole depression and all that stuff. But I never really felt he was the Punisher. This movie, I mean, the Dolph movie, he's kind of like this fucking like Jason, like walking around killing people, like. And he's kind of like this Terminator.
I was going to say, he feels very much like he's the Terminator in the Dolph Lundgren movie.
Yeah, and I think that the Punisher is the Terminator in the comic books a lot. I mean, he's more like Batman. He's kind of like the methodical planning, unwavering thing with a man with a mission that is kind of like almost like Inhuman. And I think that this version actually is the most Punisher that I see. And I think that Ray Stevenson, his just a silhouette and his size and the tactical stuff, it all works as the Punisher. I feel like he's more imposing and scary. And even just the way it's kind of directed to be kind of more like of a Batman or a Dick Tracy movie, cartoony, it works a little bit. And I never really feel like they ever got it right, even with all these three movies, even with the TV show. I think that the Punisher on TV, I don't like him at all.
Yeah,
I don't.
It's different.
To me, I have a very, very unique version of the Punisher that works for me, and none of them are really hitting. This is the closest as far as Frank Castle Punisher. So I think she got that right. So, but you got to remember, the Tom Jane Punisher comes out. It doesn't do great.
Yeah.
It doesn't light the world on fire. It's not like a big action movie. In fact, it didn't have a big budget. This has even less of a budget.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really have the support of anything. They hire Lexi Alexander, who did Green Street Hooligans, which was like a a low budget, like a British movie, I think. And it was fine. It was like almost like a indie warriors type movie with English gangs. And so I feel like she was a good pick for this. But I think that marrying the Jigsaw Joker comic booky thing with this mob story and like the FBI guy story just didn't gel.
I have a addition there, a comment there. I do agree with some of your stuff. I do like the Bernthal Punisher much better than this guy. I do like Ray Stevenson's Punisher. I think the plot.
I think he's too emo, Ray Bernthal. He's way too emo. Punisher is more stoic. He's like, imagine if Batman was like, all the time.
Wow. Yeah, maybe. But this Ray Stevenson, I just don't like that he's as old as he is. And I don't like that. I don't believe that he like works out at all. So anyways, other than,
that does something to it.
But here's my main gripe with the movie is I think the plot itself is actually pretty simple, but pretty easy and actually a good story in that the Punisher kills an undercover cop, feels sorry, and has to protect the family now from the crime boss. He has to protect the family from the shit he's created by exposing the undercover cop and killing him. I think that's a good story. It's just this movie, the way it's edited, and the tone and the acting and all the different fluctuations in tone. When you were talking about the Punisher from Thomas Jane, that's super grounded, and Lexi Alexander goes, okay, I'm going to swing the pendulum all the way the other way. So now that this movie is like this over the top, punching faces like they're rubber, blood, jokes, black guys doing Italian accents, Irish accents. I mean, it's just so all over the place for me and the way it's edited is so schizophrenic that I just can't be like, this movie's actually a good movie. I think it's really poorly put together.
The stories that she wanted to pull a lot of stuff from that were the Marvel Max line that Garth Ennis did. You know, this is Garth Ennis when he was around the same time, if not just a bit before he did The Boys. This is at a point where Garth Ennis's entire writing style was just, I'm going to put as much shit in here until I get told no. And they created the Marvel Max line to let him do that.
Right.
So I understand wanting to follow that aspect of like, this version of the Punisher that exists in the comics at this point in time, that's what he is. It's punching holes through faces, stabbing people with chair legs, cutting heads off with knives, fighting a fucking polar bear. Yeah. It's all that shit.
Yeah.
But they decided that they were going to do that with half of a script that was a sequel to a movie that was basically just fucking Death Wish.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't, like, I agree with Anthony. The story of the Punisher has to protect the family of a undercover cop he killed by accident because
they overcomplicated
there's revenge.
Yeah, it did.
That's a great story.
Yes.
I'd have read that comic.
Yes.
I would not have read that comic if fucking Garth Ennis wrote it. I would have allowed like fucking, oh God, who was it? Oh, well, somebody else probably could have done better.
That guy.
Yeah, exactly. I know there is specifically one that I'm thinking of, but it's been forever since I've read his stuff, so his name's not going to come to me if I try. But there is a place where you can do a grounded Punisher story. There's also a place where you could do an over-the-top fucking gore-fest Punisher story. To try and make one movie both of those things is stupid.
That was problem.
I like a hard R Punisher.
Yeah.
I like a super ultraviolet Punisher.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do an ultraviolet Marvel movie, that's the one to do. Blade 2 also. Yeah, the Punisher should be violent. The Punisher he's not a hero. He's an anti-hero. He's an ugly dude. He does horrible things, but he has this code and he has the stoicism and he has this mission that kind of he can't stop to think about his tragedy. So he just keeps himself busy. And that should be like the focus of the Punisher, that he's always busy. He's always looking who's his next hunt because he can't stop and think about being an actual person. And he should be like Jason. He should be like a guy who, like in the Equalizer, when the Equalizer 3, when he starts hunting down He's like almost like almost like a supernatural being.
Yeah.
He just shows up and kills people.
Yeah.
Like that should be the Punisher. And like when I see movies like Equalizer, or Get It, or any of those things, kind of get what the Punisher
is
should,
very Punisher. Yes.
right. And they're all old guys that are out of shape that have to do this.
I mean, it's a shame because Lexi Alexander, her action directing chops, they're not horrible. There's some fun stuff here.
The funny thing is while I was watching the scene in the hotel, I could tell that I am spoiled by action movies that came after this.
Yeah.
Because the whole scene when he's shooting with the guys in the hallway before he like gets into the fight with Looney Bin Jim, all I thought was, this should have been like one of those fucking Extraction Oneer shots.
Oh yeah, that would have been great.
One shot following him down the hallway, going full fucking military tactics.
A little bit like
them.
The Raid or something. You pull a little bit of that.
But like it was that thing where I was like, if this had been made 4 years later, maybe they would have done that. But because it was this time, this is what we get.
But if they didn't make the story so convoluted, and maybe if she leaned in heavier to the over the top kind of violence, like I could have seen a couple more Ray Stevenson Punisher movies. I like.
It also had an hour of the film where no action was taking place.
Yeah, there's definitely scenes that can be entirely removed.
We had entire scenes where they only existed so other characters could tell Frank the plot, so he would then go to a new place.
Yeah, it's overly convoluted.
So, like, you have two choices here, right? Are you making a fun, schlocky, gory, fun, movie that you can't take seriously?
Right.
Or are you making this mob FBI movie where you have crooked cops, you got this disgraced officer that's now trying to redeem himself, and all these different things could play, if you wrote them right, could really play out well, but they didn't do either.
Right.
They tried to do both, and that's when it didn't work.
Yeah, I truly think that this movie, if you had split the script in half and fleshed both of them out into two other movies, you could have had two very different but also very well done Punisher films. You would have had your Greg Rucka over the top hard R cartoon violence versus Jigsaw in their war for revenge or whatever story. Great. You then could have had your, soft R hard PG-13 Greg Rucka, I have to make up for the wrongs that I did by protecting this family action drama.
I mean, it gives you, there are iconic, memorable things, and it's hilarious and just wacky at times.
Well,
but
I wouldn't go iconic, but yes, there are memorable.
I mean, maybe not iconic, but memorable.
I still think this movie's enjoyable. I enjoy this movie. I think it's fun.
It is fun.
And I like Ray Stevenson as the Punisher. I do. Even though he's kind of an older dude and like out of shape, I still think he does have an intimidation that I think you need to be as the Punisher.
Absolutely.
And you can't see, like in Batman, the suit does a lot of the work. But when the Punisher, you need to be the Punisher. Yeah. So that's the problem when you have like someone like Tom Jane that's like 5'10" and like kind of like he has a big head and like a small body. He doesn't really carry that off. And
no, he wasn't the right cat.
And like Dolph Lundgren, he's got the perfect physique for it, but he can't act, and he's got that accent.
He can't talk.
So he's also Swedish.
Yeah.
And in the movie, they had him doing his best Sylvester Stallone impression to make him sound American.
Bernthal's got the size. I mean, he gets there. He's kind of small too.
No, Johnny's like 5'10".
He is small. That's why.
So it's ultimately the thing that Bernthal's Punisher has is he doesn't have the size. He has the absolute batshit insane factor.
Yeah,
where it's like you see that dude and you're like, I could probably get into a fight with him.
Yeah,
and then he starts doing his whole yell the whole time.
Like,
oh shit!
That's not
I wish he would.
Yes,
it's not. I wish he wouldn't do that as much.
I know that they are going to bring him back with like the Marvel universe. I hope they tweak him so that it's at least better.
I like Bernthal because I like his acting. I also like that it looks like his face has been broken a few times.
Oh yeah,
that dude's nose is a fucking
bumpy ass nose.
Yeah,
I still think Frank Grillo would be a better.
Oh man, Grillo getting right at it.
But who are you?
Yeah,
but I don't think he's that much taller either. But
no, because he does have that grizzled kind of older face though, which definitely like lets you know like Grillo's seen some shit.
Yeah.
I like
And I
Rolo.
think he can pull off Stoic too. Like,
Which also, if you guys do wind up seeing and talking about werewolves, I have to talk about that movie.
Okay,
with you
yes.
because it looks insane.
I know.
oh, you haven't seen it yet. I
haven't
heard
seen
it.
things.
No.
Great Frank Grillo werewolf movie just came out last week.
So, what do you think ultimately about this film? Is it something that you enjoyed watching again? Is it something that's as terrible as the Rotten Tomatoes says it is?
In all honesty, I am enough of a Punisher fan that I enjoy anything that they have had him in for what it is. I have never once assumed I was going to ever get a Punisher movie or TV show that was going to have me like sit there and like by the end, like just slowly crying one tear and being like, that was perfect.
They did it.
Like, it's going to be fucking schlocky. It's going to be action. It's what he's been from the beginning. You know, I think because I finally remembered his name and brought him up before. And I've talked about this way back in our first episode as well. The Greg Rucka run of Punisher from back in like 2012 is the only time I ever read a Punisher comic and thought like, this was fucking deep.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's because it was the only time where Frank was not the main character of his own comic book. Like, he basically played a mentor to another person who wanted to follow his path as a Punisher.
Mm-hmm.
And it was him essentially there to teach them, like, no, this is not what you do. This is not what anyone does. It's what I do because it's my curse to bear, not yours.
I read a lot of like Punisher back in the 90s when like John Romita Jr. was drawing it and stuff like that. And he made him a big fucking brick shit house.
The Mike Zeck series with those Mike Zeck covers.
Stuff was good too.
Fantastic. I mean,
Or they turned him into the Avenging Angel.
Yeah. I mean, back like in my teens when I was reading this, it got me into like drawing guns because I would read so much Punisher. And they always focused on all the different kind of weapons. And I remember trying to draw like Desert Eagles.
Yeah, they had like weapons journals and shit.
Yeah,
it was like
they had all, and that was really interesting. But Warzone's a great series. Punisher War Journal's good. The Mike Zeck
War Journal is
series.
one I always liked. I picked up the omnibus of Circle of Blood back when we met up in person over the summer.
Oh, yeah. All right, good stuff. Another What the Fuck Happened in the books, number 20. Holy shit.
Oh, shit.
We did it. Here's to fucking 20 more. I don't know. We'll see.
all I gotta say is R.I.P. Ray Stevenson.
Yes, all respect to Ray Stevenson. Fantastic actor. He's always really good.
He did his best.
Yes, he's good in everything. We just saw him and he was in Ahsoka. He's always good in everything I've seen.
He's the best actor in this thing.
Yeah, and he does.
absolutely.
He is the Punisher. I mean, he does a good job of getting really close to the essence of this character. But we listen. There's an endless supply of these bad movies. So
the only thing that pisses me off is that when I see other movies that are basically Punisher in name only. I mean, without the Punisher character in it, but they're Punisher movies.
Sure.
Man on Fire,
right.
or whatever. I'm like, this
could have been done. Like why didn't they just do this? This could have been done. Instead, we get Batman as the Punisher for some reason, because that's the thing you do. Delhauer, thank you so much. For the listener, again, you want to check out all the What the Fuck Happens, jockandnerd.com/WTF Happened. You want to plug anything, Delhauers?
Nothing that's coming up just yet. I mean, if you guys want to follow me on social media, wherever it may be, it is at MattyDVO72. That is MattyDVO72. In the new year, we're actually going to have an audio drama that I have been putting together for the past 2 years that we are hoping to start dropping episodes of.
Cool.
So be on the lookout for that. I am in the midst of editing and trying to get that finally all put together.
Yo, that's fantastic. You send me the links. Make an audio promo. I'll put a commercial in the show.
Can you give a tease of what it's going to be?
I could just tell you. I decided to do an audio drama adaptation of Rian Johnson's film Brick from 2005.
Fun. Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Yeah. So, yes, for anyone who does not know, it is the story of a neo-noir mystery in which a high schooler tries to find out who it is that murdered his girlfriend in a world of underground drug rings.
That's awesome. Oh, I can't wait to check that out. All right, that's it for us here. Again, visit the website, jockandnerd.com. Rugs, where can they find you online?
Rug Boy Show on X, where I'll be looking up the Luigi memes that are coming in hot and fast.
Luigi, you left your bag in the park. What did I tell you about that?
Hold on, I need to talk to this girl at Starbucks.
Stop flirting with the broads, Luigi. You got a job to do.
All you had to do was vacuum up the goddamn ghosts, Luigi.
Where's Mario? It's me. Anyways, that's it. Thank you for listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
We'll peep you next time.
How long till there'll be a Luigi crypto meme?
Oh.
I'm gonna buy that crypto.
Good thing I offered you a chance to be a cop, and you blew
And you blew
it.
it.
Jock and Nerd.